please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will now take roll call. Board Member Adams.
Here.
Board Member Brown.
Here.
Board Member Doshi.
Here.
Board Member Gordon.
Here.
Board Member Thomas.
Here.
Board Member Keenan.
Here.
Board Member Giblin.
Here.
Vice Chair Fulton.
Here.
Chair Gutierrez-Scachetti.
Here.
For the record, Board Member Caniff is participating remotely. Board Member Morocco is also going to be participating remotely and joining us shortly. This is a meeting of the New Jersey Transit Corporation and its affiliates and subsidiaries. Adequate notice has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act and NJ Transit's enabling legislation. Notice was filed on December 8, 2022 with the Secretary of State and sent to newspapers of general distribution, posted in the main entrance of NJ Transit's headquarters, published on the corporation's website, and sent to each individual, agency, and organization that requested such notice.
May I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the November 9th, 2022 board meetings?
Motion Fulton. Second, Adams.
Is there any discussion on the motion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Board Member Gordon.
I would just like to point out that because of a conflicting Board of Public Utilities meeting at our last meeting, I was not able to attend our meeting until the very end, so I'll be abstaining on the minutes.
Thank you. Hearing no further discussion, Megan, please take a roll call vote.
Roll call vote. Board Member Adams.
Yes.
Board Member Doshi.
Yes.
Board Member Gordon.
Abstain.
Board Member Morocco. Board Member Morocco. Board Member Nara. Board Member Keenan.
Yes.
Board Member Giblin.
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton.
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Scachetti.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you, Megan. At this time, I will call upon the President and CEO, Kevin Corbett, to present his monthly report.
Good morning, Chair. Thank you, and members of the board, and good morning to all the members of the public, both here in person and joining us online. I'll begin again today with ridership, which is holding steady on rail and bus and up slightly on light rail. Overall, weekday rail ridership remains at approximately 55 to 70% of pre-COVID levels, depending on the day of the week, with many peak hour trains at or near 100%. Overall, weekend rail ridership remains at approximately 80 to 90% of pre-COVID level, with many trains at 100% as well. Overall, bus ridership system-wide is approximately 75% of pre-COVID levels. Interstate bus ridership into New York is at approximately 73% of pre-COVID levels, and intrastate bus ridership is again approaching 85%, with many peak periods at or near capacity. Light rail ridership has also increased this month from approximately 75% of pre-COVID levels to approximately 80%. And I would say anecdotally, more and more riders are telling me and others at NJ Transit that for all practical purposes, ridership feels now that it's back to normal, sort of like the days of pre-COVID. And I was said it was standing room only on my train coming over, and the bus from Broad Street, the 72, was also full. So it does have that feel, and it's more on the shoulders where we see that we don't have the same level of ridership. Looking forward to the next few weeks, our Emergency Operations Center will be open and closely monitoring ridership levels, particularly on New Year's Eve, as we're expecting potentially heavy ridership into New York City. Hopefully the increasing ridership trends we see during the holiday season will be a harbinger of things to come. In that context, we have introduced our holiday savings campaign as we continue to look for ways to incentivize transit use and increase ridership. Our holiday promotions include extending our family Super Saver fare for the entire month of December until the morning of January 3rd. This discount allows up to 2 children age 11 or younger to travel free with each fare-paying adult. We also reintroduced our popular Bring a Friend and City Pass promotions. Full details are available at njtransit.com/holiday. As more and more riders return to our system, NJ Transit is doing everything in its power to maximize accessibility for all of our customers. And towards that end, and aligned with one of our 5 overarching goals in our NJT 2030 strategic plan to power a stronger and fair economy for all communities in the region, NJ Transit will hold its second Accessibility Forum tomorrow on December 15th. The forum is designed to educate the public on the many services and features that make our system as accessible and inclusive as possible, and to provide an opportunity for public feedback. For details on this and how to participate, please visit njtransit.com/accessibility. Another important aspect of incentivizing transit use is keeping fares steady. In this regard, NJ Transit is once again leveraging existing assets to generate meaningful non-fare box revenue. On November 28th, I joined Woodbridge Mayor John McCormick, New Jersey Assemblywoman Yvonne Lopez, and Berkeley College leadership to announce a new 3-year agreement that includes the renaming of NJ Transit's Woodbridge station as the home of Berkeley College. This partnership officially cementing a long-standing, mutually beneficial relationship that has made Berkeley College one of our nation's most attractive, convenient, and accessible places for students from all over the world to learn and grow, and it's just a short walk from our Woodbridge station. We also know that robust public transit ridership is beneficial for our environment, and we continue to focus on sustainability as a core agency value and top priority. Aligned with this priority, and also as highlighted in the NJT 2030 plan, NJ Transit continues to advance the development of our first ever sustainability plan through additional public input. Yesterday, on December 13th, we held our 3rd public engagement sustainability plan webinar when we shared a draft framework for the plan created with input from the previous 2 public stakeholder sessions. You can view recordings of the previous meetings on our sustainability webpage at njtransit.com/sustainabilityplan. Moving on to this morning's agenda, I'd like to highlight 2 items up for board consideration. Today, we will seek approval to initiate the rulemaking process for the adoption of new regulations pursuant to the Motor Bus and Passenger Rail Service Employee Violence Prevention Act, signed into law by Governor Murphy this year in January, that will strengthen protections for transit workers and customers. This action will support our ongoing efforts to protect our transit employees by enforcing elements of the new law, including the ability to ban riders for up to 1 year if they assault a New Jersey Transit frontline employee, and if a deadly weapon is used, that rider could be banned for life. This legislation creates progressive sanctions, with the length of a suspension increasing with each ensuing offense, while ensuring due process for individuals facing a suspension. The proposed rules will now set procedures for the creation of a ridership appeal board when necessary to review initial determinations made by NJ Transit. NJ Transit is working to protect our employees on many fronts, including increasing NJ Transit Police Department patrols with uniformed and plainclothes police officers, installing protective barriers in every one of our approximately 2,200 buses, and the creation of an employee court advocate position to fully support employees who are victims of assault, helping them navigate the criminal justice system at no cost to the employee. The employee court advocate also works with prosecutors to see that assailants face the full sentence allowed by law. I think I've always known that NJ Transit has the best employees in the business, but particularly today, in light of what our frontline employees did for all of us during the pandemic, we owe it to them to keep them as safe and protected as possible. Every single day, our frontline employees move hundreds of thousands of people safely to their destinations, and we want to ensure we do everything we can to get these employees back to their families safely as well. Also on the agenda this morning, and aligned with our commitment to sustainability, the board will consider a contract to overhaul 70 Tier 3 ALP 45 dual-powered locomotive engines on 35 locomotives, there being 2 engines in each locomotive. And this overhaul will maintain our compliance with EPA regulations for Tier 3 engines and keep these locomotives running in a state of good repair, improving the overall reliability of our rail service. These were the new Tier 3 dual-powered locomotives received between 2012 and 2014 that replaced 35 older diesel locomotives. This replacement results in an annual reduction in particulate matter emissions of approximately 83%, and an annual reduction in nitrogen oxide emissions of approximately 42%. Today, in addition to the engine overhauls with these 35 locomotives, NJ Transit is in the midst of a major upgrade of our locomotive fleet, thanks to the recent purchases of a total of 25 new ALP 45A dual-powered locomotives. Engines on these new locomotives are Tier 4 compliant, which compared to the oldest diesel locomotives in our fleet, that will result in a further annual reduction in particulate matter and NOx emissions of approximately 93% and 85% respectively. 14 of 25 new dual-mode locomotives have been delivered to NJ Transit and are currently in revenue service. These new dual-mode locomotives provide additional reliability and flexibility to operate on both electrified and non-electrified tracks. That means instead of running full diesel mode on any of our lines that are not fully electrified, like the M&E, North Jersey Coastline, or the RVL, we're able to switch to electric mode whenever that option is available. This has reduced the number of miles that NJ Transit rail service operates using diesel power, significantly reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Take as an example, service out of Hackettstown to Hoboken. Traditionally, an old diesel train would operate on all 57 miles of that run. Today, with a dual-powered locomotive makes that trip, it's only in diesel mode for 19 miles from Hackettstown to Dover, reducing the diesel miles by 2/3 or 38 miles. And then when these dual-mode locomotives are operating in diesel mode for those 19 miles, they are still emitting far fewer greenhouse emissions than their predecessors did. So in addition to improved reliability and operational flexibility and customer convenience, including the ability to provide one-seat ride from Bay Head to New York, for example, these dual-mode locomotives have significant environmental benefits as well. Moving on to infrastructure-related updates, I'd like to invite all of you to visit a new webpage we created to document our progress on the Portal North Bridge replacement project, and that's available at njtransit.com/portal. The page includes a daily project snapshot created by a high-definition camera we installed overlooking the site, giving customers and the general public and other stakeholders a real-time view of the tremendous activity taking place right now at the construction site. Again, this is the largest project in NJ Transit's history, and we are proud to show the progress we're making on the project. And we will be adding more pictures and videos, including time-lapse video of project progress at regular intervals, so please check in regularly. In addition to Portal North, NJ Transit continues to make progress on the Hudson-Bergen Light Rail Northern Branch project, currently in design, which will ultimately put the Bergen and the HBLR. And as a key aspect of this project, and thanks to aggressive grant application efforts, I'm pleased to note that last month, NJ Transit was awarded a $592,000 grant from the Federal Transit Administration to study equitable transit-oriented development along the proposed 9-mile extension. The study will build on efforts to establish neighborhoods and employment centers along the corridor. In developing the study, NJ Transit will engage local communities, governments, and regional and state agencies in the many facets of TOD to craft a collective vision for the corridor. Also related to infrastructure and to support robust and diverse involvement in NJ Transit's capital project bids, on November 18th, NJ Transit participated in the Regional Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Opportunity Summit held at MTA headquarters in New York City. Summit speakers included NJ Transit's Chief Civil Rights and Diversity Officer, Leota Sanders, Acting Senior Vice President of Capital Programs, Rich Schaefer, and our Acting Chief Procurement Officer, Ron Hovey. U.S. Congressman Donald Payne Jr. and FTA Regional Administrator Steve Goodman also spoke at the summit, where DBE representatives learned how to contract with NJ Transit, the MTA, the Port Authority, and other regional agencies. Our goal is to maximize contracting opportunities from our pool of certified DBEs. Coordinating with our regional partners to create events like this is just one example of the many ways NJ Transit is working to achieve this goal as we develop a larger pool of qualified contractors who represent the diversity of the business community in the region we serve. Moving on to technology, just a quick note to let you know that we have now completed the upgrade on every ticket vending machine on all 3 of our light rail systems that allow customers to purchase and validate their one-way tickets in one easy step at the TVM. This upgrade, which was completed in our Riverline last month's board meeting, has now been finalized on the HBLR and the Newark light rail machines as well. Previously, customers had to purchase their light rail tickets at TVM and then validate those tickets at a separate validator for a 2-step process. Turning to people, this is really a perfect segue to share some news about the gentleman whose team is responsible for the light rail TVM upgrades for our customers. I'm pleased to note that our Chief Information and Digital Officer, Lukman Fazal, has won a 2022 CIO of the Year Orby Award presented by New York CIO, the preeminent executive peer leadership development organization of chief information officers. The Orby Award is the premier technology executive recognition program in the United States, and this year honoring 7 CIOs who are driving innovation and transforming our region's leading organizations. Winners were selected by an independent peer review process and were announced at the Orby Awards on December 9th. Congratulations go to Lukman, and all of us know that is a well-deserved award. In wrapping up, I'd like to highlight an initiative that we rolled out on December 5th at our Highland Avenue rail station, where I was pleased to be present to announce the relaunch of NJ Transit's Adopt a Station program. in partnership with American Express. Through this program, community groups can adopt their local train station to maintain its character as a focal point for their neighborhood, planting flowers, performing light landscaping, and removing litter and other such activities. As part of the program, NJ Transit provides community groups with safety vests, gloves, trash bags, and other supplies, thanks to the generous sponsorship of American Express. Adopted stations will also include signage recognizing the considerable effort of the community groups. The press conference included Orange Township Mayor Dwayne Warren and representatives from American Express and the Vision for Orange Foundation, which formally adopted our Highland Avenue station, making them the first group to do so as part of the program's official relaunch. Finally, in keeping with the season, I'd like to highlight a few of the many ways NJ Transit is working to give back to the communities we serve this holiday season. I'm pleased to note that NJ Transit has hosted a number of holiday celebrations and community building events this month, including the 40th annual Railman for Children ride on December 2nd, where hundreds of less fortunate children rode with Santa along our main line, complete with presents, treats, decorations, and lots of holiday cheer. We had a 2-hour Polar Express ride along our river line on December 3rd, along with Santa, presents and treats for kids battling childhood illnesses, and that was in partnership with Ronald McDonald House of Southern New Jersey. Another Polar Express ride with Santa for disadvantaged children, this one on December 10th, through our first ever partnership with the Salvation Army. And yesterday I was honored to host a menorah lighting ceremony at Newark Penn Station, along with Rabbi Kanelsky from the Bris Avraham of Hillside, New Jersey, to celebrate the beginning of Hanukkah. As you can see, it's been a whirlwind of activity here this holiday season, but I think, Chair, we wouldn't have it any other way. And with that, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Kevin, and certainly thanks for all you do with the holiday season, especially with the Polar Express, to bring a lot of happiness to children who, as far as I'm concerned, is what this holiday, at least the shopping part of it, is all about. So thank you for doing that. At this time, I would ask if there are any comments from the public.
There are 9 in-person speakers and 5 pre-registered telephone speakers. Speakers, in order to give everyone an opportunity to be heard, comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Priority access will be given to pre-registered in-person participants, followed by any additional in-person speakers. We will then take comments from pre-registered telephone participants, followed by any additional telephone participants who are queued to speak. Those participating by telephone, if you have not already done so, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad to enter the queue to speak. You will hear a brief tone to indicate you have successfully entered the queue. The first speaker is Murray Bowden.
Morning. My name is Murray Bowden. My chief concern is global warming. Everything I do is related to global warming. I have some comments that relate to New Jersey Transit. I've been around here a long time, by the way. Some of you don't know how long. You're going to build a bus garage. Why? Because we always built bus garages. Don't have to. You can build a facility to repair buses. That's fine. But for the rest of the buses, put a tent up like everybody else. Denver Airport, the whole airport is one big tent. Put a tent up and keeps the buses easily charged, free of snow. And if you're worried about the bus seats being cold when people come in, don't smile at Kevin. He knows what I'm going to say. You electrify them. My car has warm-up seats. I get in the car, turn on the electric seat, and the seat heats up. Some cars even have heated steering wheels. So why would you heat the whole bus up when you can easily heat individual seats, especially the driver's seat? We have to think about different things. You're all in this room and you see the sign up here. There are green signs that say exit. But if you go outside, the sign's red. Red means stop, green means go. So why are some signs green in here and red outside? Well, that's the way we've always done it. Global warming means you can't do it that way anymore. Now you're ordering diesel buses. Okay, that's what's available today. Volvo is now converting their Volvo trucks, the big ones, to hydrogen. No fuel, same motor, only converted to hydrogen. So when you order these new buses, order them prepared for hydrogen so that the transition from diesel to hydrogen is virtually automatic. Now, where is the hydrogen going to come from? This question is one that's all over the world. There are dozens of technologies being developed to provide the clean hydrogen that you need. Why do you bring hydrogen in, not electric? Because it's easier to transport. We don't have enough facilities around here to bring electricity in for everybody that needs it. By the way, 10 a.m. starting time today was much better. Traffic was easier, and we don't have to compete with everybody going to work. So that's an example of somebody saying, hey, does it make any difference if we're here at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock? It really doesn't. So I got buses and 10 heated seats. I wear this jacket because I operate as a first responder. I do traffic control. I have for 50 years. I get to an incident before the police do, and it's happened a number of times. I have everything in my car to safely direct traffic. Flashing light on my roof, wearing a vest like this, flags and everything. Thank you all for teaching me all of this stuff. I didn't learn, not so smart that I did it myself. Many people in New Jersey Transit taught me. I want to thank you all. I've said it. Have a nice holiday. I'm going home.
Thank you. The next speaker is Sally Jane Gellert, followed by David Peter Allen.
Greetings. Vito Havrilla will give the Lackawanna Coalition remarks. I am here speaking today as a concerned citizen, a member of a number of advocacy groups, speaking on my own behalf. I share some concerns with other speakers today, but I speak for myself only. Action item 2212-100 ostensibly proposes only to initiate a rulemaking process regarding the Senior Citizen and Disabled Residents Transportation Advisory Committee, SCATTER-TAC, but it's more than that. Unless one wades through the 498 pages previous of today's agenda to find the details specific to the committee, one would not realize that this item also includes limitations to SCATTER-TAC's purview that are deeply disturbing. In addition, though SCATTER-TAC was able to review part of the proposed administrative rules, these limitations were not presented to us. Our chairperson was asked to make a statement approving this item without being informed of the critical passage that severely restricts our purview. An advisory committee, to be effective, cannot consider solely one single program. All programs operate in a context. Ours include the following. There is currently, and has been for some time, no other New Jersey Transit ADA task force, although pending legislation does propose reviving the long-disbanded one. Both the Northern and Southern Transportation Advisory Committees focus on services for the temporarily able-bodied. They have closed members-only meetings and are operating at about half capacity and are anticipating having a full roster of members when applicants are approved. Meanwhile, SCATTER-TAC holds open meetings around the state in transit-accessible locations and electronically with a monthly schedule, and have constituents come and comment on both the casino revenue program and other accessibility issues. The much anticipated, if misnamed, consumer advocate has still not been hired, and although reporting to the board will be a New Jersey Transit insider whose interests will align with the agency, not the individual rider. The County Community Transportation Department serve both those who are wholly dependent on the county for mobility and those who have additional options, and SCATTER-TAC needs to understand the specific needs of all riders. And fully half or more of our communities comprises individuals with a range of disabilities, and other members are connected to public transportation by employment or other interest. One of the items I personally brought to SCATTER-TAC was partnering with the census in 2020. The census was particularly difficult, occurring during the pandemic, and we networked with counties, housing authorities, and our own networks to ensure that as many New Jerseyans as possible were counted. These rules put forth on page 499 and 500 of the agenda document would seem to prohibit this project. Yet ensuring a complete count also ensures that both casino revenue funds and other state and federal programs that distribute funds based on census figures are distributed as fairly and equity as possible. Please ensure that ScatterTech can do its best for New Jersey Transit, the counties, the senior and disabled residents by removing these limitations before the public comment period begins on these proposed rule changes. I thank you. Have a happy holiday, gentle solstice, all that good stuff.
Thank you. Next is David Peter Allen, followed by Ann Price.
Good morning. I am David Peter Allen, and I am now Chair-elect of ScatterTech, the Senior Citizens and Disabled Residents Transportation Advisory Committee, although I am speaking in my personal capacity today. As I prepare to take office in the new year, I note that our roster will be full when the candidate we have nominated is approved. At that time, fully 2/3 of our citizen appointees will be transit dependent. Half of those members, including several seniors, live with varying disabilities. In short, our membership reflects our statewide constituency more than ever before. In addition, several of our members are nationally known in their fields. We are proud of our members and their expertise, and we want to demonstrate to you that we can help improve mobility for your most vulnerable riders. Still, a proposal before this board would effectively stop us in our tracks. It is within 2212-100, which would establish new rules for the Senior Citizens and Disabled Residents Transportation Assistance Program, ScatterTap. While we have supported the program since its inception in 1984, the proposed changes to NJAC 16:78-4.1b would restrict our purview to the program only, with the result that we would be prohibited from discussing or writing about such topics as NJ Transit's fixed route services, access link, accessibility features, connectivity, funding, ADA accommodation for riders with disabilities, and other issues that are vital to the riders whose mobility we can help improve. The second, fourth, and sixth sentences in the new proposal would revoke our right to discuss or advocate for anything except the ScatterTap program itself, and would prohibit us from enacting bylaws authorizing such discussion or advocacy. This proposal has no basis in law. It contravenes the broad and noble purposes expressed in the Senior Citizens and Disabled Residents Transportation Assistance Act of 1983 and the Transportation Act of 1979, which established New Jersey Transit. It also violates the Administrative Procedure Act, attempts to usurp the legislature's exclusive authority to write and pass legislation, and would impose an unlawful prior restraint upon our committee's rights under the First Amendment. This supporting document I submitted explains all this. To make matters worse, what notice there was of this heinous and unlawful proposal was buried at pages 499 and 500 in the 543 pages of documentation for this meeting. We managed to find it, but that does not constitute lawful notice. Vladimir Putin gave better notice than that to the Ukrainians. The committee of which I will soon become chair has a right to continue to advise you and others who can utilize our expertise, as we have done for the past 38 years, not only about the ScatterTap program, but about other issues concerning mobility for our seniors and persons with disabilities. We want to help, but these three sentences in that one proposal would rob us of most of our ability to do so. Please remove those three objectionable sentences from the proposal. If you don't, that would constitute reckless disregard for your state's most vulnerable riders.
Thank you. Next is Ann Price, followed by Ted Click.
Good morning. My name is Ann Price. I'm the program manager for Water Spirit. Water Spirit is a nonprofit center of spirituality and ecology. We're sponsored by the Sisters of St. Joseph of Peace. We promote personal and systemic transformations needed for a flourishing earth with clean, safe water for everyone. We cannot protect water without resolving the climate crisis, and that is why I am here today. I've lived in New Jersey my entire life. I've taught environmental education, environmental protection, and environmental justice since 1987. I was even more proud to be in New Jersey on September 18th, 2020, when Governor Murphy signed New Jersey's environmental justice law. Also in 2020, Governor Murphy directed New Jersey Transit to shelve plans for a new methane gas power plant and redesign your project in a way that would use clean, renewable energy. Since then, New Jersey Transit flip-flopped. You're still pursuing a new methane gas plant that would spew toxic pollution and climate-destroying greenhouse gases in our Garden State for decades to come. This taxpayer-funded project would violate the spirit of our state's landmark environmental justice law and our state's climate goals to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. This gas-fired power plant would spew pollution into a region of our state already overburdened with harmful pollution. This dirty gas plant is tantamount to ecological sin. We don't have any time to waste. We need to implement renewable energy now, and New Jersey Transit needs to begin it with this project. New Jersey Transit must get back on track to prioritize renewable energy, not a polluting power plant. A wise woman once said, "Decades of short-sighted decision-making has fueled this crisis, and now we must do all we can to help." Thank you, Tammy Murphy. I urge you, for myself, for Water Spirit, and the Sisters of St. Joseph's of Peace, for the people we represent, for the state of New Jersey, and for my children, I urge you, Governor Murphy and New Jersey Transit, flip-flop back. Make good on your promise for a renewable energy transit grid. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Ted Glick, followed by Samantha DeFalco.
Good morning. Yes, my name's Ted Glick. I'm the president of the organization 350 New Jersey Rockland. I'm here to speak about the plans that you seem to have to go forward with a frack gas power plant in Kearney in the Meadowlands, despite Governor Murphy saying that you should take seriously at renewable energy in looking at that idea. You seem not to have done that. You've kind of put off the possibility of renewable energy, not just for years, but for decades. Which is frankly just very irresponsible and something that if your children and grandchildren, any of you who have them, if they looked you in the eye and asked you, what did you do back then when things were not as bad as they have become in terms of life on Earth, frankly, you would probably have to avert your eyes if you actually go through with this plan. As of now, it looks like you're planning to do. The group I'm with, the 350, a lot of people may not know what that refers to. It refers to the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere that is a safe level. That's what scientists have determined is a safe level. For millions of years, the level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere in the world was about 280, roughly 280 parts per million. But with the Industrial Revolution and the burning of coal and then oil and gas and everything else related to that kind of an economy, it's now up to almost 420 parts per million, and it's accelerating rapidly. 30, 40 years ago, it was going up at the rate of about 1/2 of a part per million. It's now going up at a rate each year of 2.5 parts per million. The signs are all around us as far as the seriousness of the climate emergency that we're in. People know this is the reality. And yet, for reasons that I don't really understand on a real base level, on one level I do understand. There is a certain kind of a culture that's tied in with the existing economic system that we have, in which these kinds of decisions can be made. I'm sure many of you have children and grandchildren, or you plan to have them, or you have relatives who have them. I don't understand really how people can't do the right thing when it's so obvious what we're facing. So I guess that's my plea with my 10 seconds left. Please, you can reconsider. Don't do as was said, flip-flop back to what the governor said you should do. The governor himself should step in and urge you again to take renewable energy seriously. It's coming, it's here on a worldwide basis. My last point, on a worldwide basis, there is more investment now into renewable energy than there is into fossil fuels. That's a new thing that's developed, and that's only going to get better in terms of where the money is going to. Get with what's happening in the world. Take seriously your responsibilities to all the world's children and grandchildren and the coming generations. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Samantha DeFalco, followed by Paula Rogovin.
Hi, good morning. My name is Samantha DeFalco, and I'm with the organization Food and Water Watch, speaking on behalf of our 70,000 members here in New Jersey. Like the previous two speakers, we are very concerned that New Jersey Transit is not taking our state's commitments to address the climate crisis seriously. We've been speaking at these meetings since February, when we first learned that the RFP for the Transit Grid project still leaves a new gas-fired power plant in Kearney at the center of the project. We know that New Jersey Transit is scheduled to release design decisions for this project at the end of the month or early in 2023, if that's not on track. And we're very concerned that this is going to include a new gas power plant. It's very clear in the RFP that New Jersey Transit is not just seeing this anymore as a resiliency project, but as a source of revenue, as it includes plans to sell the power to Amtrak. At the top of this meeting, I enjoyed hearing President Corbett talk about different things that the agency did to support children in the holiday season, especially children with battling childhood illnesses. At the same time, a new gas power plant in Kearney is going to worsen air quality in this region and make those illnesses more prominent. Here in Newark, 1 in 4 children has asthma. Those rates are similar across Hudson County, and a new gas power plant is going to increase that. When we talk about cumulative impacts, we have to think about each new source of pollution and the impact that's going to have to the region. We're also concerned about the proposal that's being voted on today to spend $60 million on new diesel burning buses, which are going to operate in these same communities. So yeah, like the previous speakers have said, I don't need to be redundant. We're very concerned. New Jersey Transit needs to put the brakes on this project, go back to the drawing board, and make sure that this huge amount of money, I think it's upwards of $500 million for the Transit Grid project, is going to provide a resilient solution for the future, for my generation, for future generations, that will, allow transit to have meet the goals of this project, but without a new power plant that's going to worsen climate and environmental injustice here in New Jersey. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Paula Rogovin, followed by Anthony Hall.
Hi, I'm Paula Rogovin from the Don't Gas the Meadowlands Coalition. We just marked the 10th anniversary of Hurricane Sandy. After the hurricane, New Jersey Transit was provided over $450 million by the federal government to address the issue of a temporary power outage like the one that impacted trains during Sandy. In 2014, FEMA warned against the use of a gas-powered solution. Quote, natural gas supplies can be interrupted during high wind, flood, or earthquake events. Also, natural gas services are often intentionally shut down prior to a storm event to reduce risk of fires and explosions. Because of this, natural gas should not be used as a fuel for providing emergency power to critical facilities. End of quote. Yet during these 10 years since Hurricane Sandy, and despite all of the talent and expertise available, your only proposal was for a dirty gas plant, a gas plant that would harm our lives and worsen climate change. After more than 1 year of advocacy, marches, rallies, speeches at your board meetings, sign-on letters by elected officials, petitions, Governor Murphy and you, the New Jersey Transit Board, promised in 2020 to pivot from that gas plant proposal to a renewable energy alternative to power the trains. You even promised to make sure that I personally was happy with the new transit proposal. Well, I hold these flip-flops to tell you what so many of us think of both New Jersey Transit and Governor Murphy. You flip-flopped. You let us down. You claimed you really care. You claimed to really care about environmental justice. You claimed to really care about impacts to people with health, and you claim to really care about the environment. New Jersey Transit and Governor Murphy, you behave more like the Grinch, to use a holiday metaphor, delivering a dirty, polluting power plant that will impact the health of residents in Kearney, Newark, Jersey City, and other environmental justice communities and beyond. No, we are not happy. Instead, New Jersey Transit Board and Governor Murphy could have and should have halted the RFP process with its focus on a dirty gas plant and amended it with a focus on a renewable energy alternative. While our Grinch and flip-flop images may be lighthearted, the issue of pollution and global warming is deadly serious. We know that you understand that. Even now, today, Governor Murphy and New Jersey Transit, we call on you to halt the RFP process, stop the flip-flop, don't be a Grinch, amend the RFP.
Thank you. Next is Anthony Hall, followed by Carmine Fiore. Anthony Hall? Okay, Carmine Fiore? No? Okay. Frederick Mendez?
Yes, you may call me Fred. I'm here speaking on my own behalf, but I'm grateful for Food and Water Watch organization, which keeps me apprised of this and has given me so much education over the past couple years via mostly Zoom meetings and experts. I don't know any of you, and I wish I could, so the fact that I don't, I'm going to assume that you have good intentions. And so I'm going to thank you for this opportunity to speak and respect you until I know better. I have a gas-fired power plant in the proposal, and this is what I'm speaking against here. You can access the facts. You probably already have. Of course, someone will always be around to support you in case you'd like to deny the facts. Now, that seems to be quite popular in our country today. But the fact is, we have a local pollution problem and a global warming problem. I think the reason that things are going this way with you so far and with the governor is because there must be very difficult problems
to considering seriously clean energy alternatives. And so, as a committed Christian, I just want to say that sometimes we have to have faith, and we have to act bravely, even when the way doesn't seem clear, seems inconvenient, or maybe even impossible. The main reason I'm here today is because I want to be able to look my son and grandson in the eye and say, I did what I could to try to turn this around, even though I was a part of the problem. I drove my car here. I have a gas-fired furnace. But I live in a small house. I'm trying in a small car. And I hope that we all realize how important it is for the future of our loved ones and those not yet born and those so poor in other countries that they're getting the brunt of our developed nation pollution. I hope that we can act on all their behalf. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anthony Hall? Next is Anthony Hall, followed by the telephone speakers.
Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the board. I am Anthony Hall, a longtime member of the Scatter-Tap Committee, although I do not claim and am not qualified to speak on behalf of the committee, but simply as a very concerned citizen. First, thank you for this opportunity to say a few words about the proposed measure, namely NJAC/16-78-4.1b, which we understand is intended to limit the purview of the Scatter-Tap Committee. I join with those who here today urge you to reject this measure and to reject this course of action, as it will, in my judgment, waste a hard-working and productive resource with no apparent gain. This committee has, during my long tenure, discussed and offered advice on a wide range of topics, all affecting the mobility of seniors and persons with disabilities. Many of us who fall within these groups have a stake not only in those services specifically intended for our use, but also in the wider world of scheduled transport. I have often observed fellow seniors and passengers with disabilities riding scheduled trains and buses along with their able-bodied fellow travelers. I have even observed special provisions designed to encourage and to accommodate passengers who are elderly or disabled to enable them to ride scheduled transit. Therefore, it would seem altogether fitting and proper that this committee continue to address all issues that affect the mobility of the transit dependent. Duplication of responsibility has been cited as an excuse to further limit the activities of the Scatter-Tap Committee. I would point out that it is a matter that in matters of true importance to the public interest, a little redundance is no vice. Thank you. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to all.
Thank you. Next, operator, we would now like to open the floor for public comments by telephone participants, beginning with those who pre-registered to speak.
Certainly. And as a reminder, if you have not already done so, please press *1 on your telephone keypad to enter the queue to speak. You will hear a brief tone to indicate you have successfully entered the queue. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes for their public comment. A warning will be provided with 1 minute remaining, and again with 15 seconds remaining. At this time, there are 14 speakers in the public comment queue. The first public comment today is coming from Andy Weiss. Andy, your line is live, and your time will begin now.
Good morning, board. Please give us a status of the customer advocate position. Obviously, we've been asking about this for years. The Entry Transit Reform Bill passed December 2018. It is now December 2022, so that's 4 years without a real entry transit customer advocate. 4 years. That's a presidential term. I mean, it's unbelievable. I'm tired of asking you about this. I'm trying to understand why you closed the customer advocate job, and that was unacceptable when it is law. You're supposed to implement it, not close it. Who closed the job position? Why would you close the NJ Transit customer advocate position? It is the law, and you tried to ignore the law. It is actually harder to implement the customer advocate position than it was to pass the reform bill in the first place. I'm tired of asking about this. Please give us a status today. Please don't tell us that you are, quote, committed to getting us a customer advocate position. Committed means maybe. It means nothing to us. You must give us a real customer advocate. It is the law. NJ Transit is not in compliance with the reform law of 2018. The NJ Transit reform law that created a customer advocate was passed and signed by the governor. Debate about the customer advocate position is over. Over. No more debate. It is now implementation time. I don't see it advertised on the NJ Transit website. Don't water down the NJ Transit customer advocate job position. The new customer advocate will not be sitting in the office creating Excel spreadsheets and working with politicians all day. The advocate will be with NJ Transit riders on the system and having meetings with us. We're not going backwards and having an advocate making spreadsheets and useless videos.
1 minute remaining.
The advocate will speak for us daily and at every monthly meeting and everywhere the advocate is needed. Customer advocate will be accessible to riders via phone, email, and will be active with us on Twitter. After the second reform bill passes, we will get a customer advocate office. That is not a misnomer. That is reality, an office of customer advocates. We need a team of advocates work with NJ Transit riders all day long and in the evenings. Advocate will also be working on the weekends. You're not going to strand us on the weekends without a customer advocate. The advocate office is going to be accessible 7 days a week. The advocate will see how terrible our weekend service has become. Please don't ghost us like you always do and give us an update today. The board is supposed to work for the riders, but you only represent management and the government. This board is lazy and uninformed. You are so lazy. This board is the worst transit board in America. This board is not an advocate for NJ Transit riders. This board has never been an advocate for us.
Thank you. The next public comment is coming from Francis Howitt. Francis, your line is open and your time will begin now.
Just checking. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Francis. You can begin now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I just want to say thank you so much for having me and allowing me to speak. I am a born and raised resident of Hoboken, New Jersey, and then recently moved to Jersey City in 2017. And I've been riding New Jersey Transit since I was probably 3, or probably before that when I was not even born. And so I've seen the service from Hoboken and how effective it can be. And then I've seen it transformed into what it is today. I've ridden the trains. My grandmother used to live in Tinton Falls, and so I'd ride the train from Hoboken Terminal down to Tinton Falls and Little Silver all the time. And I've kind of, in my opinion, ridden every facet of New Jersey Transit's operations. And so I just want to take the time to kind of talk about some of the pros and cons that I've seen recently, and just try and figure out where there are areas that we can improve, and try and highlight those, because I think there's a lot of disgruntled riders, and you hear from them constantly. And I'm just trying to think about where can we be strategic and actually try to make those improvements that will see long-term impact for riders day over day. So 2 things I wanted to highlight were just the phone application and then the buses, and kind of go through that process. So for the phone, I thought some of the pros was that the app has made the system much more accessible. It's provided a way to get online ticketing for a lot of the services which didn't exist previously, and it's allowed for online tracking of buses. I also think a great addition has been the availability of the PDF schedules, and I think that helps keep the transit operators honest and gives us as riders more tools to understand where things should be. Some of the cons with the app is that the app is still hard to navigate. It is not intuitive. There are too many clicks to get anywhere in the app, and it causes a rider to have to do way more to get to something that he or she should just easily have. It doesn't have built-in comment portal, I'm not sure why I can't submit comments to the board. I can't submit comments about buses or trains or the light rail directly within the app. If that exists, it is not easy, and it should be directly linked to the bus number and the bus route that you're looking at, so you can report on that bus at that moment. You should hear what we have to say, since these meetings take place in the middle of the workday. It's impossible for me to really get on these calls. I'm working right now, and I'm stepping away to be on this call. I think the timing is not fair to riders, and that should change. For buses, I'm glad that you guys got new buses for us on the 119 line. It's great, but they're still always filled, and the frequency has not changed at all. You gave us a new gate, which is gate 210 in the Port Authority. That's awesome, but that gate still gets filled up, and buses don't come through fast enough to actually get riders out. So it's the same problem we've continued to see. I just think it's weird that our route has seen a fare increase. The 119 specifically has seen a zone increase within that route, but our distance is no greater than the Hoboken bus line, and their fare has not increased. So I think it's weird that you're targeting areas outside of Hoboken for fare increases, but not doing anything within Hoboken, and they continue to get more buses, they have more riders, like everything is going to there, and the rest of the system seems to fail.
15 seconds.
And then the last thing I'd say is I see supervisors all over the place. I think you should keep doing that and keep trying to track things, but just report on that to the riders. I don't think we're getting any of that feedback, and it's very frustrating. So thank you again. Have happy holidays, and I appreciate the work you guys are doing.
Thank you. The next public comment is coming from Adam Reich. Adam, your line is live, and your time will begin now.
Good morning. If Board Member Nara is present, can we please get an update on the Customer Advocate, Customer Advisory Board meeting you promised to work on, and your review of opening up additional rail cars where we have the available capacity? I haven't had an update on these since late October. If Board Member Nara is not present, Vice Chair Fulton and Board Member Gordon, can you please confirm that you'll follow up with her for me? Tomorrow's the accessibility forum. Mr. Corbett spoke of ensuring that the system is as accessible and inclusive as possible a few minutes ago. It's imperative that we ensure that part of tomorrow's discussion caters to people who are immunocompromised, who are otherwise at risk of severe health outcomes from COVID-19, flu, and RSV infections. Even if the answer isn't a mass car, it's important to have a dialogue on that. Vice Chair Fulton, at the last Operations and Customer Service Committee meeting, you used the phrase asked and answered, referring to the masking issues. Respectfully, sir, I disagree. I've asked numerous questions that still have gone unanswered. Why, for example, is it that with COVID rates having surged, especially since Thanksgiving, New Jersey Transit isn't doing what the MTA does, and at least recommending that riders mask up in its messaging? I'd note that some agencies like Milwaukee County do still have a mask mandate on transit. What we're asking for is a mask car. We've had riders who say they cannot ride the system because of their physical conditions and the mask optional policy. So it's not good enough to say no. If you're going to say no, you have to offer an alternative. Offer a dialogue. If you appreciate what I and other advocates are telling you, if you care about those of us who can't ride or have risk, you need to do something more. Even if the answer is no on a mask car, let's have a dialogue. Vice Chair Fulton, perhaps we can have a call offline. A 2 to 3 minute comment period where I cannot respond to your comment doesn't lend itself to collaboration and finding meaningful solutions. I would point out again, right, the whole idea is based on the mask car, on the quiet car. The quiet car began in 2010 as a pilot on 3900 series Northeast Corridor Line Express trains. The whole idea with the pilot program is you try it, you refine it. If it doesn't work, you fine-tune it or scrap it. Here we can try a model without active enforcement on a select few trains, as we did with the quiet cars, in the name of comfort, and see if it works. A half measure is better than no remedial measures at all. Give riders a chance, give this model a chance. We did a quiet car in the name of comfort. We can try a mask car during a pandemic on a select few trains. Look, the quiet cars aren't perfect, but riders appreciate having the option. They'd rather have the option than have you get rid of it just because it's not actively enforced. In fact, you don't require it to actively enforce it. So, Vice Chair Fulton, I don't think it's in your heart that, go away. We're tired of hearing questions on it. We don't want to address this matter. but it's important to hear from you and to have a dialogue. I had an employee make fun of me on the masking issue recently, and your customer service team verified it. If you're silent on this issue now, if you're not saying you'll have a dialogue, if you're not publicly condemning this behavior, then do you really, it doesn't feel like you care about what I'm saying and what I'm asking you for, which is to collaborate on this. So please, sir, let's have a dialogue.
Thank you. The next public comment is coming from Rachel Davis. Rachel, your line is live and your time will begin now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Rachel. You can proceed.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. I'm Rachel Dawn Davis, Public Policy and Justice Organizer for Water Spirit, a ministry of the Sisters of St. Joseph of Peace, as you've heard. I've spoken many times before this board, as have several of my peers today. I appreciate the opportunity to speak again, hoping still that we will receive a response. Water Spirit and our thousands of members throughout the state for over almost 25 years call on New Jersey Transit to address the serious problems with the request for proposals for New Jersey Transit grid allowing for dirty, unreliable, war-torn, toxic gas in any amount. Solutions exist that are smarter, and we know better alternatives do exist for this project in particular. New Jersey Transit committed to this, and Governor Murphy agreed. As has been stated, and I'll echo, this agency and Governor Murphy flip-flopped on this project. This lack of leadership, inaction, not responding is confusing, as I've also shared before, especially to New Jersey's young people. The new project design must not include a dirty energy power plant, and New Jersey Transit should clearly state the prioritization of renewable energy. Righting past wrongs can still be done in the spirit of environmental justice. The sustainability efforts of this agency and the administration, frankly, can be truly meaningful. I have relied on New Jersey Transit for commuting to New York City for years for school and work, and these investments must make sense going forward. Renewables are cheaper than ever before, and this can also keep riders healthy, at the very least avoid any additional toxins. Governor Murphy and the current New Jersey administration is suing oil and gas companies, investing in wind, but at the same time, over 7 fossil fuel projects await permit renewal. Confusing. Areas of most concern must exert energy, time, and money in their mental health, fighting for their rights to breathe and live in the homes they purchased or are saving to buy in this state, which is very hard. It is a season of reflection, and we must ask Governor Murphy and the New Jersey Transit Board, and the Sustainability Committee in particular, what future will the decisions you make today provide for our children? Thank you. Time is not to be wasted. Today, just to give you an idea, the children slaughtered at Sandy Hook in Connecticut would have been juniors in high school. Young people, as I always say, are the largest and growing active electorate. They will not support candidates for any level of office unless climate emergency is heralded with action and active hope. Please visit waterspirit.org for the upcoming winter solstice seasonal celebration, which is free and open both in person as well as virtually. Thank you.
Thank you. The next public comment is coming from Matthew Walsh. Matthew, your line is live and your time will begin now.
Good morning. I'm with the New Jersey Association of Railroad Passengers, and I thank the board for the opportunity to speak here. And also, President Corbett, it's great news about the HBLRT being extended to the north. That's great news. My main area of concern is the former Bloomington-Greenwood Lake Line, which extends from Morristown to Jersey City. Earlier this year, Governor Murphy had acquired the line, and it was intended to be a trail, a bike walking trail, and he also made provision for public transit. I believe that public transit is an essential element in terms of demographic changes in northeastern New Jersey. I'll back up this for a second. New Jersey's inner ring suburbs are going through an incredible redevelopment and population boom. This is borne out by the 2020 census. That's 2 years ago. All of these towns, I'll name just a few: Bloomfield, North Newark, Hackensack. They're all redeveloping. There's a reason for this. There's several reasons. The biggest ones are, one, of course, people are decamping from expensive New York, and they want to have some sense of urban ambiance, which our inner ring suburbs here provide. But secondly, perhaps more importantly, New Jersey is virtually built out. So what are the developers doing? They're moving into the former urban areas and inner suburbs that had endured decades of population loss and manufacturing flight. But the infrastructure is there, the excess infrastructure is there, and that's where people want to move. So we have a population boom going on in these areas. However, we do not have a corresponding public transportation boom in these areas. And people are compelled to drive everywhere. And these areas already have significant traffic problems. And even if we, at this moment, everyone had an electric car, and we figure out a way to charge every car, we still have traffic congestion. It would be even more compounded with people moving there. We need more public transit on these right-of-ways. The right-of-ways are there. Let's use them. North Newark is undergoing a population boom along the rail line. Right along the rail line of Newark Industrial Tract. These two lines cross over one another. We need to move forward with public transit on the right-of-way between Montclair and Jersey City, along with the trail. We also need to move forward with the industrial track in Newark, which goes underneath the line in North Newark. They're actually building along the right-of-way here. So North Newark is undergoing a population boom, but it's a transit desert. I strongly urge New Jersey Transit and the governor's office to look at the changing demographics. We simply cannot accommodate all the new people moving into these areas with cars. It's just not going to happen. Seconds. I thank you, and everyone have a good day.
Thank you. The next public comment is coming from Holly Cox. Holly, your line is live, and your time will begin now.
Oh, hi, this is Holly Cox, but I'm actually in a doctor's appointment, and I happen to be with the doctor now. Are you able to please add me to the very end of the queue?
I'll re-queue you, Holly. Please stand by.
Great.
The next public comment is from Diane Valianti. Diane, your line is live. Please go ahead.
The next public comment. Can you hear me? Coming from Holly Cox. Holly? Hello,
Yes,
can you
Diane,
hear me?
we can hear you. Yes, your line is live, Diane, please.
Good morning. Our daughter, Tiffany, was only 18 when, on July 12, 2015, she was struck about midnight near mile marker 45 by a New Jersey Transit train heading to Atlantic City from Philadelphia. She was barefoot, partially clothed, and less than 5 miles from home. Unknown to this day is whether Tiffany was struck and killed by the train, or if she was murdered before being placed on the tracks to conceal the crime. As you may know, as you should know by now, NJT Police and the state medical examiner never did a complete investigation into Tiffany's death. Just some examples. The scene was never secured. It was never treated like a crime scene. A full autopsy was never conducted. A rape test kit was never performed. Evidence including a long-handled, possibly blood-stained axe and a rental car keychain found near the scenes was lost while in NJT custody. And false and misleading statements were given about the incident by your operating train engineers. We simply want to know why. Our family wants to know why. The community wants to know why. It's been more than 7 years after Tiffany's death, and we are more convinced than ever that investigators, including members of your police department, were wrong. They rushed to close her case on a trespasser suicide. We want to know why. We also want to know why, within just hours of Tiff's mysterious disappearance and death, one of your own public relations employees openly talked to the press about the considered a suicide. Isn't that against your own policy? Who allowed that to happen? Before Tiffany's body parts had been recovered, funeral arrangements were made, and long before it was learned that the train personnel, including a student engineer in training, changed the stories about what they think they saw that night. NJT has never answered these and many other deeply disturbing questions about the investigation into Tiffany's death. Question raised again recently in the Netflix Unsolved Mysteries documentary, Mystery at Mile Marker 45, which has been viewed by millions of people from New Jersey and around the world. It is quite possible Tiffany was murdered. according to independent investigations that were conducted after the rushed inquiry relied upon to quickly close her case. Hopefully, you will hear us today, and you'll agree to meet with us in the very near future. And you will see it is at your solemn duty to direct an independent investigation of New Jersey Transit's handling of our daughter's investigation. Thank you.
Thank you. The next public comment is coming from Vito Havrilla. Vito, your line is live and your time will begin now.
Hello. My name is Vito Havrilla. I am the Legislative Director of the Lackawanna Coalition. I am giving our organization's statement. The Lackawanna Coalition passed 2 resolutions recently. One, congratulating New Jersey Transit Rail on its 40th anniversary. New Jersey Transit Rail began on January 1st, 1983, taking over operations formerly provided by Conrail. 2, calling for hourly service between Hoboken and Montclair State University stations on weekends. Current service is every 2 hours between Bay Street and Hoboken. Most other lines have hourly service. Service every 2 hours is below standard service. We call for New Jersey Transit to implement this level of service at the beginning of the fiscal year 2023-2024. Thank you.
Thank you. And there are 7 participants remaining in the public comment queue at this time. And the next public comment is coming from Anthony Lanzalotti. Anthony, your line is live.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Anthony. Please proceed.
Hi, good morning. So my name is Anthony Lanzalotti. I'm one of the newest members of the ScatterTac Committee. I reside in Brigantine, close to Atlantic City, and I'm deeply disturbed about these proposed changes. As an individual who is totally blind and utilizes public transit, all modes of public transit, I share the similar views of my colleagues. However, I'm making the statement in my individual and personal capacity. I'm totally blind and have been since birth. Another colleague who's came on board, our newest member like ourselves, commutes from his residence in central New Jersey to New York City, where he advises disabled students pursuing post-secondary education. Another such member, one of our longest-serving members, is a writer and known nationally and has been practicing law for over 40 years. Another one of our longest-serving members is a transportation economist and a writer, and he is known both nationally and internationally. We also have the the president of the National Association of the National Federation of the Blind of New Jersey. She's our affiliate president. She is also visually impaired. Another new member is hearing impaired and pursuing a doctorate degree. She brings many talents to the table. Another member of our committee is known locally throughout her community. She pursues environmental justice. Look, implementing these rule changes would be detrimental not only to each of us, but to all disabled residents and citizens throughout New Jersey. Thank you and have a great holiday.
Thank you. The next public comment is coming from Brian Scanlon. Brian, your line is live and your time will begin now.
Thank you and good morning. My name is Brian Scanlon. As was just said, I'm a former councilman and mayor of Wyckoff. I'm also a big supporter of Food and Water Watch in New Jersey. And today I'm speaking for myself. I'm urging the board to reconsider the RFP for the Kearney power plant because it simply does not do enough to address the climate crisis that we are now in. Just a couple of weeks ago, our youngest daughter, Claire, and her husband, Matt, gave us the joyful news that we'll be having another grandchild soon. And for my daughters and their families, I really have opted now in the last third of my life to work on climate change. And many of you are about the same age as me, maybe a little younger, maybe a little older, and I think it's time that you guys did the same. The RFP fails to include information about solar siting on New Jersey Transit property, It does not address issues with acquiring property for the siting of solar panels. And solar siting is critical for a backup energy source for New Jersey Transit. The RFP fails to incorporate a system-wide analysis of available solar and battery siting locations on the New Jersey Transit properties that it already owns along the three main railroads. The other thing I want to mention with regard to personnel, the current head of your sustainability program comes from the oil company Hess, and most of New Jersey Transit sustainability experts lack expertise in real renewable energy like solar, and instead seem much more interested in false solutions like biogas and RNG, rather than truly renewable energy like solar. I urge you to reconsider this RFP, to pull it in its current form, and to really address it so that it uses 100% fossil fuels. And it's time now, it's long past time to address the climate crisis. And when I go and leave this world, I want to be able to say to myself, I did something about the climate crisis. And I wonder, if you don't pull this, how you folks will be able to look your children and grandchildren in the eye and say the same thing. Thank you.
Thank you. The next public comment is coming from Tim Sevener. Tim, your line is live and your time will begin now.
Hello, yes, this is Tim Sevener, a director with the New Jersey Association of Rail Passengers from the Transit Village of Mount Tabor. And I would just like to speak up once again to reiterate what Brian just said about solar siting, and to point out that PATCO already has put solar canopies on their stations, ironically in New Jersey, and we've had correspondence with them. And 50% of their rail traction power is coming from that solar renewable energy. And they're also saving $15 million on fuel cost or electricity cost. There's no reason why we shouldn't be doing that on the New Jersey Transit grid. It's definitely feasible. It's being done around the world, and it just makes a lot of sense. The other thing, as far as the dual mode locomotives, it's questionable really how many of these we should be buying instead of. I mean, it's a good thing to be able to switch from diesel to electric, but in the long term, we really need to be electrifying these rail lines, the 19 miles to Hackettstown, also the gap between MSU and Denville, the gap between Long Branch and Bayhead. There's no reason not to electrify around the world. They're electrifying railroads with overhead catenary, which is really the most efficient because you don't have to carry the fuel on board, and you don't really have the cost of fuel, and you convert the source to renewable energy, which can be done like PATCO, solar canopies and solar siding above train stations, parking lots, rail yards, and even from adjacent warehouses. There's no reason not to. It's questionable to me why we're doing all these train, investing a lot, like in the New Brunswick train station, Elizabeth train station, Lyndhurst, and not doing solar right from the get-go. Why not? That should be considered right from the beginning, and then it can be used to power very efficient electric rail. as Matt Wolf said, another point to be made is that the Essex-Hudson Greenway should have a light rail on it, which would obviate the need for the $10.7 billion proposed for the New Jersey Turnpike widening into Jersey City, which is only going to create a bottleneck at the Holland Tunnel. Instead, we need to run trains to Hoboken and alternate routes, public transit that already exist to be able to go there. Thank you very much, and happy holidays.
The next public comment is coming from Sid Madison. Sid, your line is live, and your time will begin now.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Sid. Please proceed.
Thank you. Sid Madison from Piscataway. Happy holidays, everyone, both in attendance and on the phone. I'm not in attendance in person today because I'm sitting at home while they improve my insulation and install heat pumps for my HVAC and water heater. This is costly, but it's the right thing to do. And I'm advocating that you do the same thing. I don't care if it's more costly to do renewable. There's got to be a way of doing it, and you need to find it. Also, as visible leaders in the structure of New Jersey, you need to lead in terms of telling Governor Murphy to enact a moratorium on all fossil fuel projects in New Jersey. You guys are visible, making that announcement that the board thinks that the governor ought to enact a moratorium on fossil fuel infrastructure would address a lot of the lack of incentive for people to really understand the climate crisis. Thank you, and have good holidays. Bye.
Thank you. The next public comment is coming from Richard Grant. Richard, your line is live, and your time will begin.
Richard Grant, Hackensack. NJ Transit still expresses support for reducing greenhouse gas emissions without doing all it can to maximize and accelerate actions to make it happen. Rail service, bus service, lip service. You are still going forward with the power source for NJ Transit Grid, including a gas-fired power plant in Kearney, and as a result, with any potential renewables capacity serving as no more than trimmings. President Corbett mentioned Tier 3 and Tier 4 dual-power locomotives running on electrified and non-electrified tracks, reducing particulate emissions, but every mile, every hour that the locomotives are still powered by diesel, they emit carbon dioxide and produce air pollution. In other words, let's put out the fire on the installment plan. Meanwhile, in the real world, the Indian Railways, the world's fourth largest railway network with 40,000 miles of track on which 11,000 trains run daily, aims to become a net zero carbon emitter in the next 7 years. They plan to achieve this target through a complete transition to electric trains by December 2023 and powering the trains and stations primarily through renewable sources by 2030. The move will help India meet its nationally determined contribution of reducing its carbon emissions by 33% by 2030. By 2030, the lion's share, 91.5% of its train traction energy will be met through renewable sources. For now, the railway plans to bridge the gap, and it's undertaking initiatives. It plans to install solar panels along the railroad tracks, on top of the trains, the stations, and the administrative buildings. It has a potential of 20 gigabytes of solar power, and is planning to use vacant land parcels to set up land-based solar plants for the traction power. And through January of last year, over 1,000 stations and buildings had installed solar panels with a total capacity of 111 megawatts. It's also setting up a solar plus storage hybrid plant, pilot plant, and it's going to replicate the model across the country. It's also working on improving the energy efficiency at all its stations and buildings. It's already made 700 stations compliant with International Standards Organization 14001, which deals with effective environmental management systems, and achieved green certifications for 31 railway buildings and 32 stations. And it started manufacturing only locomotives that generate power during braking, regenerative braking. When my father grew up, and even when I grew up in the Bell Labs state, the United States is a nation known for getting the huge, astounding engineering projects done way before anybody else took sustainability into account. Now other nations are working on such projects that embody sustainability. They're not risk adverse. They don't dip their toes in the water and wait for applause. They don't base their planning on rapidly aging technology paid for by a federal gift card and a state copay. They are.
And the next public comment is coming from Jim Blaze. Jim, your line is live and your time will begin now. Good morning, Jim Blaze. If you are on the line, you've been brought into the public comment queue. You may begin your public comment at this time.
Yes, good morning. I am a ScatterTAC member, but I am only speaking personally and professionally as to the proposed restrictions that the board is considering that my colleagues have already spoken to. So I'm going to do this in the way that I've learned to do it as an economist, a graduate at the University of Chicago, and as an engineer. I have two lenses with which I view transportation projects, and I've been in the transportation industry my entire life. I'm 79, in my 79th year, and so I'm a senior. And as I look at this from a strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats basis. On the strengths is the seniors and disabled market is rather large. It's roughly on a national basis, roughly just about 18% of the total population are seniors. Disabled? Well, if you're not a senior and you're young, the disabled percentage, depending on the disability, runs from 1% to maybe 9%. But as you get older, the likelihood that you're also going to be disabled increases. So that population is growing. The weakness that the board faces, New Jersey Transit faces, is resources. There's just not enough money to fund everything. The opportunity is that market size I just said is 18%, just for the amount of people who are seniors. Over the next 10 years, it'll grow to about 21% and then continue to grow because we're not adding people. We're not really at much of a birth rate replacement for the population. And medical science and medical doctors and nurses are taking care of us, so we're going to live longer. Wow, that opportunity, how many opportunities do you have where you're going to grow market share, regardless of what you do? Not too many. So the last thing is the threat. For some reason, this proposal to limit ScatterTAC was put in.
1 minute remaining.
Considered by some to be a threat to you and to New Jersey Transit. I look at it this way. A lack of intelligence when you know markets are growing and you don't have enough resources, lack of military intelligence or commercial intelligence is the greatest threat. And you, the board members, you're the one that won't get any benefits if you somehow limit your availability to touch and reach our asset base at ScatterTAC. Thank you very much for serving as board directors. I know it's not always a pleasant job, and I appreciate your listening to my comments this morning.
Thank you. The next public comment is coming from Sam Pepin. Sam, your line is live, and your time will begin now.
Hey, thank you. I first want to express that New Jersey Transit amend the RFP for the transit microgrid project so that the project design cannot include a gas or dirty energy power plant and will prioritize renewable energy. This polluting methane fracked gas fired power plant is backward looking and not forward looking. And this power plant is against the environment, it's against urban people's quality of life, and it's against environmental justice. I urge you and Governor Murphy to be on the right side of the obvious right side of history. Governor Murphy has been on the wrong side of the previous power plant and on this power plant and on the Turnpike expansion, and he's only been in a bubble on Liberty State Park, listening to his billionaire friend Paul Fireman and Fireman's lobbyists and a few people who've been bought off by Paul Fireman the governor's been against protecting Liberty Park for future generations. And this is also an issue about future generations, and New Jersey Transit and the governor are failing to listen and to act with wisdom and with common sense. So I urge this board to do the right thing, also to also fund again the shuttle bus at Liberty State Park, which operated for 10 years, and then Governor Christie had New Jersey Transit kill it. So for 10 years, there's been no shuttle bus, which is a travesty, into Liberty State Park. So thank you for this opportunity to talk. Please listen to the facts presented by many speakers today, especially Food and Water Watch, Empower New Jersey, and Don't Gas the Meadowlands. This is clearly the wrong way to go with this fracked power plant, and it's just shocking that you would even be considering it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next public comment is coming from Sarah Thompson. Sarah, your line is live and your time will begin now.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Sarah Thompson, and I am hard of hearing, and I wear hearing aids in each ear. I use New Jersey Transit often. Unfortunately, however, NJ Transit is not compliant with the Americans with Disabilities Act. Oftentimes, I am confused by which train I am boarding. I am often not sure of where I am, when I'm able to, which stop I'm at, etc. And I have actually missed my stop on more than one occasion due to the lack of accessibility options and the lack of accommodations as well. I agree with the previous commenter who had indicated that the app does not provide any sufficient accommodations or accessibility options, and it's really, really difficult to navigate NJ Transit as somebody with a hearing loss. I'm a doctorate student, so I'm a student at Rutgers University. I live in New Brunswick and commute to Newark often, and it is oftentimes incredibly difficult to understand which stop I'm at. It's incredibly difficult to understand which train I'm on, and it's incredibly difficult to understand even which train I am boarding. The NJ Transit does not provide sufficient signage that signals which train the station or which station the train is stopping at. So when you're on the train, there are no closed captioning options, especially for the announcements, which is very difficult to then understand which train I'm on. Additionally, the station platforms do not provide sufficient signage. So when I'm on the train and trying to figure out which station I'm at, you cannot actually see which station you're at because the signs are not big enough, they're not lit up enough, and they are not efficient they don't provide sufficient information for the passengers who are on the train and who are trying to figure out which station they're at. Oftentimes then I'm very stressed when I'm riding NJ Transit. I've had conductors yell at me because I've been in the wrong train and needed to be in a different train to exit. And so for many of these reasons, I'm really pleading with the board to please, please, please ensure that NJ Transit is compliant with the Americans with Disabilities Act. I have been so upset by all of this that I actually joined ScatterTap, and I've been participating in meetings, and I think it's egregious that the board is trying to usurp the guidance power and the recommendations that ScatterTap provides for the board, especially, again, as somebody with a disability. I really plead with the board to ensure that those of us with disabilities are heard and that NJ Transit becomes more compliant with the Americans with Disabilities Act. I mean, right now, there aren't even captions available to participate in a meeting, which is, in today's environment, just horrific. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next public comment is coming from Holly Cox. Holly, your line is live and your time will begin now.
Hi, my name is Holly Cox, a 24-year New Jersey resident. I'm here to ask you and Governor Murphy to amend the RFP for the microgrid project so it cannot include a dirty fossil fuel power plant and instead develop the project with clean, renewable energy. The UN IPCC report dated April 2022, only 8 months ago, stated there's nearly a 50-50 chance that Earth will reach a yearly average of 1.5 degrees Celsius, that's 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit, within the next 5 years. Scientists warn we are already perilously close to tipping points that could lead to, quote, cascading and irreversible climate effects. IPCC scientists agree it's, quote, now or never to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres further warned the world is on a, quote, fast track to disaster and insisted that unless governments everywhere reassess their energy policies, the world will be uninhabitable. He stated that unless action is taken soon, some major cities will be underwater and forecast, quote, unprecedented heat waves, terrifying storms, widespread water shortages, and the extinction of 1 million species of plants and animals. He continued that high-emitting governments, towns, cities, and corporations are not just turning a blind eye, but are, quote, adding fuel to the flames by continuing to invest in climate-choking industries. That is exactly what is going on here. Just look around you. It is impossible to ignore the climate crisis. Here in New Jersey this summer, we had over 1 month of 90-plus degree days with barely any rain, and we had a drought. New York City's subways are flooding and people dying in basement apartments, barely containable wildfires across the entire globe, stronger and scarier storms, 1 million species threatened with extinction, and now a war in Ukraine funded by dirty fossil fuel money. Climate scientists tell us we have approximately only 7 years to drastically cut our emissions to keep our planet habitable. The need to act on climate is urgent, and our leaders, including you, are failing us. We are at a crossroads. The decisions you make now can help secure a livable future or help lock us into an uninhabitable hot planet. We cannot achieve real resiliency by building new fossil fuel infrastructure. The emissions from a new fossil fuel plant that you want to build will further exacerbate the climate crisis and cause even more extreme weather events. And it would increase the pollution burden on environmental justice communities who already suffer the deadly consequences of decades of environmental racism. Further, the state of New Jersey just sued 5 fossil fuel companies for engaging in a decades-long campaign of misinformation related to climate change and its devastating impact on New Jersey. So why, in New Jersey, are you and Governor Murphy trying to invest in these deceitful and destructive companies? We are running out of time, and I'm calling on Governor Murphy and you to be leaders and say no to any more fossil fuel projects and commit to a 100% clean and renewable microgrid to keep our planet habitable. This is a huge opportunity for both of you to be leaders and start creating a clean and sustainable future for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. And there are no further participants in the public comment queue at this time.
Thank you, public speakers. Are there any board member comments?
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank all the speakers for taking the time out of the day and come and express their concerns, comments to the New Jersey Transit Board. And again, I'd like to say that we take all of your comments seriously. We go back and talk to the team about them. So just because we don't respond one-to-one with every one of your comments does not mean that we've not heard them and we don't take them under consideration. But there are, I think, 2 or 3 things that I do want to address. And Kevin, I don't know what the proper form or format is, but could you please have your team reach out to the doctoral student from Rutgers, Sarah Thompson, and whatever the process or procedure is. Apparently, she's limited hearing, lives in New Brunswick, and she says that her travels are challenging, I would say, at the least. So I believe that we owe it at least to her to respond back in whatever the form or format that our team would do. The other thing I got brought up was the hourly service from Hoboken to Montclair State. I think it's every 2 hours, and the caller requested every hour. If the team could just look into that to see if it's feasible, if it's possible, does the ridership support it? And I think next to finally, I'm happy to hear one of the callers say that the 119 bus line service has improved. And that's kudos to your team for doing a yeoman's job and improving the bus service on that line. And I just think that they need to be recognized. And finally, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I hope you, like myself, are looking forward to a prosperous and productive 2013. Those are my comments, Megan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wait, what did I say? Oh, 2023. I'm sorry. 10 years ago.
We were younger then.
Much younger then, yes.
You had time around
Thank you. Board Member Gordon, did you have a comment?
I did, yes. Thank you very much. I have to say I'm very disappointed by the comments I've been hearing from my friends in the environmental community, and I do consider you my friends. I'm troubled by 2 points. First, you've decided that, based on the RFP, that our microgrid project is going to be a gas-fired system. I have not seen any proposals. I don't think any of us have seen any proposals. But how do we know that that's the source of energy? How do we know it's not going to be a fuel cell or hydrogen or decarbonized gas or some other creative approach? And we're certainly trying to promote creativity in the proposals that we get. More disappointing, though, has been your focus on this project and your neglect of the big picture. And let me tell you something about the big picture in New Jersey. New Jersey, under Governor Murphy, is leading the country in advancing towards renewable energy. Let me repeat that. New Jersey, under Governor Murphy, is leading the country in renewable energy. We have an energy master plan, and we're on track to implement that, which is calling for a 100% decarbonized system by 2050. We're going to have a third to a half of our energy coming from solar and wind, and in addition, clean nuclear sources of energy. We already have 160,000 solar installations in this state, and we are leading the country in offshore wind. We have 3 projects underway that are going to provide power for 4.5 million homes. And a few weeks ago, we did something that no one has ever done before in this country. We launched a project that will bring the power from those turbines onshore. No one has ever tried to do that before. We're breaking new ground there. We have totally revamped our solar programs and launched a grid-scale solar project last week, which is going to double our solar. I think it's really important not to lose sight of all the other great things that we're doing in renewable energy. New Jersey is going to become the epicenter of renewable energy, if not in the nation, on the East Coast. And just one other comment in response to David Peter Allen and some of the comments that were made about the senior and disability programs. And this applies to anything that's on our agenda. If you want to have some impact on our decisions, you can't really bring these matters to us the day of a vote. Get in touch with us directly before. And if we know that there are issues out there, we'll turn to staff and ask for some additional information. Anyway, that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Gordon. Anyone else have comments? Vice Chair?
Again, thanks everyone for their contribution. It was very robust comments today across a myriad of different issues. I do ask that staff take a look at information with regard to what they're doing in India. I think it would be very instructive to understand more clearly. I've seen some of the information regarding PATCO. I'd like to know more about that because I do think it's instructive. But again, and I welcome the comments from my colleague who is closer to it, given his role and responsibility. at the BTU, so he has insight to access to information that I don't have personally, but by virtue of the fact that he's on our board, it's helpful to have that context. At the Energy and Sustainability meeting a couple weeks ago, one of the things that caused me great frustration was the pace at which we're not moving. In all honesty, it's a fact that the world is experiencing these climate changes. We realize that here. You come to us and you say it to us as if we don't. We do. But the reality is that the generation of clean electricity requires a process that can create the amount of energy that we need today and also into the future. We run a very complex train system here that has huge energy demands every single day, and not just this organization, but the entire world is demanding more energy as we speak. So there's a tension, a real tension between how do you generate clean energy, clean electricity, how do you transmit the same, how do you store the same, so that you have the availability for people all over the world. And I know you understand that too. But I appreciate your role. Your role is to keep pressing hard to make sure that people who are in positions to influence the acceleration of decisions. And getting there is going to take far more than emotion and passion. It will take resources, and it will take collaboration across levels that have never been seen before in the history of man. You understand that too. As I've sat in this environment and learned, I'm beginning to see the challenges and difficulties and the pros and cons. And if you turn something off immediately, the consequences are significant. When we find ourselves without air conditioning, the consequences are significant. When we find ourselves without heat, the consequences are significant. When we find ourselves without food, the consequences are significant. The balance here is to try to find the quickest, most effective way to meet the energy needs of our societies and simultaneously reduce the amount of carbon release. And it's a tough challenge, and I don't think anyone has the answer. But what we are committed to doing here is finding every opportunity that we can to work towards it. And in the context of the transit grid, that's what it is. I mean, I am anxious to see what the experts in that community can bring to us. And it's at that point in time that we will have a better understanding of what we're facing. And simply put, this is what we're facing. We're facing do we want to experience what we experienced with Sandy, right? Are we willing to live with the consequences of what we experienced with Sandy if we don't like what the industry has to propose to us? That's what we're going to see. And there will be some tough decisions that have to be made, each one of us as individuals, each one of us as parents and grandparents and aspirate parents or grandparents with aspirations. We'll have to, in our heart of hearts, deal with that issue, but it's not going to make it an easy decision. As people responsible for making sure that transit continues to run in the state of New Jersey, we have to keep our eye on both balls. We have to make sure that this company runs, that people have safe, reliable transportation, but at the same time, we have to make sure that we're doing the best that we can to manage the two objectives, because I too want to make sure that my 2-year-old grandson has a world that he can live in. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there additional board member comments?
Hearing none, we'll continue on with our agenda. At this time, I will call upon Anna Marie Ganella-Rosado to present the advisory committee report.
Thank you, and I have to say good afternoon, not good morning. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, board members, and staff. The North and South Jersey PACs met jointly on December 9th President and CEO Corbett was present and presented an update on key issues such as ridership, funding, and capital projects. He spoke about them earlier today. Members also received updates on legislation, various issues, and agency initiatives. The PACs approved the resolution in support of New Jersey Transit's Regional Rail Station Modernization and Access Program and continue to provide letters of support for New Jersey Transit grant applications. The second New Jersey Transit Accessibility Forum will be held on December 5th at 1 o'clock. I will be participating in that venue. Next, New Jersey Transit was awarded FDA grant of $592,000 to study transit-oriented development along the proposed 9-mile extension of the Hudson-Bergen Light Rail into Bergen County. Transit also provided extra service during the Thanksgiving Day holiday. New Jersey Transit and the New Jersey TPA on November 9th announced the programming of $43.6 million in federal funding to 7 transit projects, which advance sustainability, bus garage electrification, and first-last mile solutions. Projects include the Hilton Bus Garage Electrification Project, microtransit shuttle pilot routes, solar bus shelters, bike sheds, electric minibuses, local electric vehicle minibus transition study, and technical support, and new bus Hudson. As CEO Corbett mentioned, New Jersey Transit welcomed holiday travelers with great deals and discounts for transportation. They could be found on the New Jersey Transit website. I'd like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a happy and safe New Year. And I was pleased, and it was my pleasure to announce these reports throughout the year. That concludes my report, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair stepped away. This is Vice Chair Fulton. Thank you very much, and happy holidays to you. Not a problem. So next, and as the chair returns, we will have Philip Harrison will present the Senior Citizen and Disabled Resident Transportation Advisory Committee report.
Thank you. Good morning, members of the New Jersey Transit Board of Directors, New Jersey Transit staff, and members of the public assembled here in person and virtually. Let me just say here, parenthetically, that this is the ScatterTap Citizens Advisory Committee biannual report that I am giving. This will be my last report. My term expires on December 31st. At our meeting on Monday, David Peter Allen was voted as the new chair for the 2023 and 2024 season. It has been a pleasure and an honor to have served as the chair of the ScatterTap Citizens Advisory Committee for the past 2 years. I look forward to continuing the work of the committee in cooperation with New Jersey Transit staff as we jointly work to improve transportation services for the seniors and disabled residents of New Jersey. Our committee applauds New Jersey Transit staff who, via the Accessibility Forum, have shown their interest in improving transportation for our state's disabled residents. However, many challenges lie ahead. First and foremost may be the difficulty in providing adequate numbers of CDL drivers to serve the Access Link buses and ScatterTap-funded community transportation systems. We would advise that steps be taken to avoid this problem from causing drastic reductions in service to seniors and persons with disability who are the population that the New Jersey legislature has directed our committee to advocate on behalf of. Over the past 6 months, since I last reported to the board, we have been able to fill the vacancies on the advisory committee with several dedicated members with substantial knowledge of these systems and strong incentive for improvements in community transportation in the Garden State. Several committee members, with the cooperation of Ocean County personnel and New Jersey Transit staff, attempted to develop a voluntary system in Ocean County in order to provide the services required by the dialysis patients in that jurisdiction. While our efforts were not successful, nevertheless, we have started a dialogue about such issues, and we look forward at the coming year or so to helping to obtain the transportation necessary for this group of seniors and persons with disabilities. With the encouragement of our new members, we are looking into issues dealing with problems in public transportation for the hearing impaired, which heretofore has not been considered by the committee. We are also looking into providing input into the best practices which will be promulgated by the newly developing regional councils being formed pursuant to the Legislative Reform Act. Much of the committee's work is done by subcommittees that focus on particular areas of concern where the subcommittee has an issue that should be considered for presentation. When the subcommittee has an issue that it should be considered for presentation to New Jersey Transit or other administrators, it is brought to the attention of the full committee for resolution. In this way, the work of the committee continues during intervals when there are no full committee meetings. Meetings of the Citizens Advisory Committee are open to the public, and we welcome public comment on issues dealing with public transportation for our seniors and persons with disabilities in New Jersey. We have now, for almost 3 years, been meeting virtually, which has been necessary due to COVID protocols. However, this matter of meeting, while allowing us to continue to advocate for seniors and persons with disabilities in the state, is not the optimal manner of accomplishing this ends that our committee is charged with performing. We are happy to announce that our December meeting, just 2 days ago, was once again accomplished in person with a virtual option so that those unable to attend could still contribute to the work of the committee. We look forward to continuing these hybrid meetings where our committee members may meet face-to-face and work on the issues charged to us by the New Jersey legislature. This morning, you will have before you a decision on voting to initiate the rulemaking process for the adoption of regulations NJAC 16:78, Seniors, Citizen, and Disabled Residents Transportation Assistance Program. Let me mention herein that I have changed my report as originally submitted. Added into my report by New Jersey Transit staff was a request to approve this regulation. When I received a copy of that report, I noticed that I was asking the board to approve a regulation. I frankly had no idea what the regulation was about, and if I was going to ask you to approve it, I wanted to know what that regulation was about. My legal research is limited. I called David Peter Allen, a practicing attorney who you well know. He also knew nothing about the regulation, and we on the committee had never heard of this regulation. David looked it up, got back to me, and we learned that this would severely limit what the committee could discuss and rule on, and we were quite concerned. And I want to point, it was noted that this has just been brought to the committee's attention on short notice. That is true. But the first I had ever heard of it was just last Thursday, and the full committee had never been advised of this regulation. This was inserted by New Jersey Transit staff, and I just had to change my position in my recommendations here to you. I also want to note that at our meeting on Monday, 2 resolutions were passed by the full committee in session. These have been mentioned by Mr. Allen. The first is we are asking you not to vote on this regulation today. Please allow us to discuss this regulation in a democratic manner, all pros and cons, so that we can issue our recommendations and our to the board. So the first resolution approved on Monday, and again, the first that really any of us had learned about it, was to ask you to defer your vote so we can discuss it and come back to you with our recommendation since it deals with our committee. The second resolution passed again at the board meeting on Monday, as mentioned by Mr. Allen, was that the 3 particular paragraphs which appear particularly offensive at this time. We are certainly willing to hear all sides on this, that be deleted. These are resolutions that you have in your paperwork. I'm sorry that we had to give them on such short notice, but as I say, we only learned about them recently. So I am asking you to defer on these matters. And I point that I am speaking on behalf of the entire Citizens Advisory Committee who passed these resolutions and only became aware of them on Monday. In conclusion, I want to say I again want to thank the New Jersey Transit Board of Directors, New Jersey Transit staff for their wholehearted support of the Citizens Advisory Committee, and we look forward to continue our working relationship with New Jersey Transit staff, the Board of Directors of New Jersey Transit, as we seek jointly to improve services for the senior citizens and disabled residents of the state of New Jersey. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Harrison, and your committee for the work that they do. We will now move on to board committee reports. And at this time, I will call on Board Member Giblin to present the Operations and Customer Service Committee report.
The Operations and Customer Service Committee received an update on trends, analysis, and actions for rail, bus, light rail, and access link. The committee also received an update on the cost of service. That concludes my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Board Member. At this time, if Board Member Morocco is still with us.
We lost connection to Board Member Morocco, so I'll read the report.
I'll do it so that we're good. So on behalf of Board Member Morocco, the Administration Committee received a financial update. This included a summary of operating results compared to previous year's comparable period and fiscal 23 budget, 12-month farebox revenue compared to pre-COVID, major balance sheet items, and federal COVID-19 relief grant drawdown summary. Additional information was provided as part of the agenda materials, including the cost of service, key performance indicators, 12-month farebox recovery, history of vacancies, attrition and hires, ridership and revenue, and a monthly budget to actual comparison for October 2022. The committee also received updates from Human Resources and Equal Employment Opportunity and Affirmative Action. That includes the Administration Committee report. At this time, I will call on Vice Chair Fulton to present the Capital Planning, Policy, and Privatization Committee report.
The Capital Planning, Policy, and Privatization Committee discussed the board items for the bus stock program purchase of 60 articulated buses and memorandum of understanding with Middlesex County Improvement Authority for the New Brunswick train station and Elizabeth Rail Station reconstruction project, construction management services contract amendment, and ALP 45 locomotive engines overhaul 70, and Advanced Speed Enforcement System 2, Positive Train Control, approval to issue a new procurement by exception contract to Box Simpson, Division of WABTEC Canada for remote downloading of event recorders on Siemens PTC-equipped vehicles, and 149-passenger ferry vessel, Borough of Carteret, and contracting out Warren minibus service, and information technology amendment to contract with integrated partners for network resiliency. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Vice Chair Fulton. I'll now call on Board Member Adams to present the Safety Committee report.
Thank you, Chair. The Safety Committee was provided an update by the Office of System Safety on key safety performance metrics for rail, light rail, bus, access link, and construction safety. The Safety Committee was also made aware that the Safety Education and Community Outreach partnered with the University of Newark Hospital, the Brain Alliance of New Jersey, NJTPD, and a host of other external stakeholders to sponsor and facilitate free health and safety fairs in East Orange and Newark, New Jersey. Chief Drussillo made the committee aware that there would be an FTA-mandated drill at the Bergen Line station on the Hudson-Bergen Light Rail on Sunday, December 4th. The chief also discussed the outreach efforts of the department for the month of November. The New Jersey Transit officers also deployed Narcan for suspected drug overdoses 18 times during the month of November, saving 18 lives in the process. The chief also briefed the committee on the content of the in-service training that officers are currently receiving. The committee was also made aware that the department's Civilian Police Academy would be starting up in February and that the information is on the New Jersey Transit website. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Board Member Adams. We will now move to action items. This time I would call on President and CEO Corbett to present those items.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to introduce Rich Schaefer, Acting Senior Vice President, Capital Programs, present Board Item 2212-90. Rich.
Thank you, President Corbett. We are presenting for approval Item 2212-90, Bus Stock Program, purchase of 60 articulated buses. Authorization is requested to exercise options contained in New Jersey Transit's contract with New Flyer of America of St. Cloud, Minnesota, for the purchase of 60 articulated buses, including spare parts, at a cost not to exceed $56,794,743, plus 5% for contingencies subject to the availability of funds. We ask for your approval of Item 2212-90.
May I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Adams.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Board Member.
Second, Bennett.
Is there any discussion on this item? Hearing none. Megan, please take roll call vote.
Roll call vote. Board Member Adams?
Yes.
Board Member Doshi?
Yes.
Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Koenig?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Scacchetti?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. I believe, Board Secretary, we have a recusal. Board Member Narr is recused, but she is not on the phone. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, then we will continue. Kevin?
Thank you, Diane. That's Rich. You can carry on with Item 2212-91. Rich.
Thank you, President Corbett. We are presenting for approval Item 2212-91, Memorandum of Understanding with Middlesex County Improvement Authority for the New Brunswick train station. Authorization is requested to enter into a Memorandum of Understanding between and among New Jersey Transit and the Middlesex County Improvement Authority, by which New Jersey Transit will fund a not-to-exceed amount of $45 million for internal and external improvements to the New Brunswick train station. Authorization is also requested to enter into a funding agreement for each project phase prior to commencement of that phase for a total amount not to exceed $45 million, subject to the availability of funds. We ask for your approval of item 2212-91.
May I have a motion to approve?
Giblin, so moved.
May I have a second?
Second, Fulton.
Is there any discussion on the motion? I would just like to offer my thanks to the New Jersey Transit team. The more that we're able to partner with our transit communities, especially on the rail side, I think the more we're able to accomplish. And so I believe this is the second opportunity we have had to do that behind North Brunswick. And so I think it's a great new way for us to continue to improve the rail stations with our partners. So kudos to the whole team. Having said that, Megan, please take a roll call vote.
Roll call vote. Board Member Adams?
Yes.
Board Member Doshi?
Yes.
Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Morocco?
Yes.
Board Member Caniff?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Scacchetti?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Great, thanks. I'd now ask Rich to bring the next item, 2212-92. Rich.
Thank you, President Corbett. We are presenting for approval item 2212-92, Elizabeth Rail Station Reconstruction Project, Construction Management Services Contract Amendment. Authorization is requested to enter into a contract amendment with WSP USA Incorporated to continue to provide construction management services on the Elizabeth Rail Station Reconstruction Project in the amount not to exceed $1,579,400.00 plus 5% contingency subject to the availability of funds. We ask for your approval of item 2212-92.
May I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Adams.
May I have a second?
Second, Gordon.
Any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, Megan, please take roll call vote.
Roll call vote. Board Member Adams?
Yes.
Board Member Doshi?
Yes.
Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Morocco?
Yes.
Board Member Caniff?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Scacchetti?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. And then the last item for Rich to present today is for capital programs is 2212-93. Rich.
Thank you, President Corbett. We are presenting for approval item 2212-93, New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection Rebuild by Design, Hudson River, New Jersey Transit, permanent easement and lease for resist structure construction, operations, and maintenance. Authorization is requested to take any and all actions to execute a permanent easement and lease agreement conveying necessary property interests to the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection for the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection's Rebuild by Design project. We ask for your approval of item 2212-93.
May I have a motion to approve?
Giblin, so moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. And I know the Vice Chair has discussion, so discussion on the motion.
Thank you. I'll start off by saying that this is indeed a DEP project and not a NJT-centric project. I'm told this easement must be approved by the board today because of federal funding requirements DEP must adhere to. This project is to address the very legitimate goals of minimizing flooding in towns on the Hudson, particularly Hoboken. I think this is a noteworthy objective. However, since it's a DEP flood mitigation project by its very definition, that means that it is not centric to the highest goals as established by New Jersey Transit. Consequently, when it comes to design and construction, New Jersey Transit does not call the shots, and as a result, things like construction means and methods, operation flexibility, functionality, and opportunities for financial return may not be optimized for the benefit of New Jersey Transit. Other considerations that are core to DEP's mission, but not NJT-centric, will likely carry the highest priority. It's clear that one of the greatest challenges facing New Jersey Transit is funding. As a board member, financial security is one of our greatest concerns, as funding has direct impacts on safety, security, and service reliability. As I understand it, New Jersey Transit could be facing a fiscal cliff in 2025 or 26. No one has a crystal ball, but given current ridership trends and the elimination of certain federal dollars, losing out on any potential revenue-generating opportunity is a matter that demands board involvement throughout the process. It's also clear that New Jersey Transit's service reliability and customer service are under constant microscope, and rightfully so. The construction of the flood mitigation infrastructure could result in significant operating impacts during construction and create other types of operating impacts, including command and control independence when the system is deployed. I think a project that could have tremendous impact on operations deserves board communication at every step of the process. Frankly, what's distressing and disappointing about this initiative is not the flood mitigation objective, an objective of strategic importance. I am frustrated by the lack of transparency associated with this initiative. This project is extremely complicated. It appears the project has been under discussion for years. Yet I've been on the board since the beginning of 2020, and the first time I heard about this easement was last month at the November 2022 board meeting. Now, in December of 2022, this board is being asked to approve an easement that could have a significant financial and operating implications for New Jersey Transit. Just so I'm clear, I'm not taking issue with what is being done. I think flood protection wins today. If given the opportunity, perhaps I would have taken exception to how it's being done. Unfortunately, this board did not become part of the process until last month. For all intent and purposes, we've had little to no ability to influence the process, no opportunity to question the design approach, no opportunity to influence the relationship between the agencies, no opportunity to consider the impacts to customer when the flood wall protocols are activated. Hopefully, the involved parties agree that they are advancing the right solutions as they relate to flood mitigation. But I don't know if the solutions address the flood mitigation's objectives and simultaneously preserve New Jersey Transit's ability to maximize realized revenue opportunities and retain maximum control over its operations during construction and when the wall is deployed. Probably not, and at this point I don't really know. I am told that several memorandums of understanding agreements between the agencies are under negotiation. I strongly encourage the staff to keep this board apprised as the negotiations continue. Hurricane Sandy further changed our thinking about an approach to resiliency, and there is little doubt that we are seeing storm intensity increase year after year. But make no mistake about it, projects of this type require a give and take mentality and mindset. In projects like this, there are winners and losers. This easement creates a framework where theoretical new revenue opportunities will likely never be realized, and the project will forever change New Jersey Transit operating protocols. Most importantly, the lack of transparency and communication for the project of this magnitude is unacceptable. Kevin, I would ask that you and your team do a better job communicating matters that have this type of financial and operating significance to the board. That concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any other board members have comments to offer? Board Member Gordon?
Thank you. Just following up on Vice Chairman's comments, I wonder whether Rich could comment on how the activation of the wall will affect our operations in Hoboken. I assume you've examined that.
To a certain extent. By and large, it's a series of floodgates that would be closed in preparation of a large storm coming through. I believe, I don't want to quote the number, I don't know it off the top of my head, but there are more than a few. And in which case, the flood waters would be restrained out of Hoboken and protected. Our yard would incur some flooding damage, but the potential benefit to New Jersey Transit, as stated by the project definition, is that Hoboken, being protected, would not drain back through our yard, thus necessitating a longer period of recovery than we normally would have. So there is some shared benefit. It is unfortunate that the property is where it is, but the city was not designed in readiness for a flood 200 years ago, so we have limited options.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments? I would share that I respect both Vice Chair Fulton's and Board Member Gordon's concerns with the wall. And I certainly understand, certainly operational concerns are number one, and it is my understanding that the teams after today will continue to work together to clearly identify responsibilities with regard to the operation of the floodgates, as well as how our yard is impacted, so that there will be an ongoing conversation, which is a good thing. And I do agree with Vice Chair Fulton that it would be good to keep this board apprised of those discussions so that the board has confidence that in the event of any type of storm where the surge could have such a detrimental effect on Hoboken as Superstorm Sandy did, that we understand what is happening. I differ on the issue of revenue. There is no doubt when you do an easement with a private entity there is a revenue component of that. An easement has a monetary value. In this case, we're doing an easement with another governmental agency. And so just the sheer purpose of exchanging money for those purposes has limited impact or good impact for either agency. Yes, New Jersey Transit might benefit, but to the detriment of perhaps something else DEP needs to do. And so I think in the spirit of cooperation with the sister agency and with the absolute need, as we talked about, for flood mitigation, and I think all of us clearly understand the need for flood mitigation, this project makes sense, and it makes sense at this time. And again, yes, you are correct. They've been talking about it forever, like as long as forever as I've been here. So in fairness, it would have been better for the board maybe to have been briefed incrementally, and going forward, we will be. But at the end of the day, I don't worry about the revenue because we would never have monetized this property probably to begin with. It's not a place for monetization for this agency, but it is a place that has been identified as absolutely critical to protecting Hoboken. And so, as much as we love each other, we don't always agree, but that's okay. He likes the Eagles, I like another team, right? It's okay, and we try to have some fun with that. And we try to remember that as we do business as a board. So from where I sit at the table, I 100% believe in this project for the purposes of protecting an important city, an important community in our state. I am not disturbed necessarily by the idea that we are not exchanging dollars with DEP. At some point, I'm sure we'll need something from DEP. I can think of a few things right now that we will go back and we will, I'm thinking the global transportation piece, that we will expect DEP's return and cooperation back to the transportation agencies. And hopefully the most important part, which I think are the operational impacts and the need to make sure we know who's responsible for closing those floodgates, because conversation we've had before, all of those technical pieces will be addressed, as I understand it, in continuing conversations with the teams from New Jersey Transit and the Governor's Office of Disaster Recovery and Resiliency Office under the leadership of Dan Kelly. So for me, I think that is what is key. And so we are going to vote on this today and hopefully pass this today with the note to the minutes that this board will be continued at least quarterly to be updated, or more frequently depending on activity, on what has happened with the operational rules that will be put into place for this particular project. And with that, I will ask Megan to take a roll call vote.
Roll call vote. Board Member Adams.
Yes.
Board Member Doshi.
Yes.
Board Member Gordon.
Yes.
Board Member Morocco.
Yes.
Board Member Kena.
Yes.
Board Member Giblin.
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton.
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Gichetti.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thanks, Rich. I'd now like to introduce Jim Sincaglia, Senior Vice President and General Manager of Rail Operations, present item 2212-94 regarding the L45 overhaul.
Thank you, President Corbett. We are presenting for approval item 2212-94, L45 locomotive engine overhaul. Authorization is requested to enter into a sole source NJ Transit contract number 22-635 with Foley Caterpillar of Piscataway, New Jersey, to provide material and services for the engine overhaul on 70 Caterpillar engines, 2 per locomotive, in an amount not to exceed $34,854,248.48, plus 5% for contingencies subject to the availability of funds. We ask for your approval of item 2212-94.
May I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Adams.
May I have a second?
Second, Fulton.
Any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, Megan, please take roll call vote.
I need someone to turn off their mic. Thank you. Roll call vote. Board Member Adams.
Yes.
Board Member Doshi.
Yes.
Board Member Gordon.
Yes.
Board Member Morocco.
Yes.
Board Member Caniff.
Yes.
Board Member Giblin.
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton.
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Gichetti.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you, Megan. Now I ask Jim to carry on with 2212-95 regarding PTC. Jim.
Thank you. We are presenting for approval item 2212-94, 2212-95, Advanced Speed Enforcement System 2, Positive Train Control, approval to issue a new procurement by exception contract to Bach Simpson, Division of Wabtec Canada, for remote downloading of event recorders on Siemens PTC-equipped vehicles. Authorization is requested to negotiate and issue a new contract to Bach Simpson, Division of Wabtec Canada, for remote downloading of event recorders on Siemens PTC-equipped vehicles, to provide the ability to automatically generate the new FRA reporting requirements for the 96 Siemens vehicles in NJ Transit's fleet at a cost not to exceed $550,000 plus 5% for contingencies, subject to availability of funds. We ask for your approval of item 2212-95.
May I have a motion to approve?
So move, Giblin.
May I have a second?
Second, Gordon.
Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing none. Megan?
Roll call vote. Board Member Adams?
Yes.
Board Member Doshi? Yes. Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Morocco?
Yes.
Board Member Keenan?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Gichetti?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Now ask Mike Kilcoyne, Senior Vice President, Surface Transit and General Manager of Bus Operations, to present Board Item 2212-96.
Thank you, President Corbett. We are presenting for approval item 2212-96, 149 passenger ferry vessel, Borough of Carteret. Authorization is requested to enter into a contract with Hornblower Yachts, LLC, of San Francisco, California, for the construction of a 149 passenger ferry vessel at a cost to New Jersey Transit not to exceed $7,060,000, including administrative costs, subject to the availability of funds. The Borough of Carteret is responsible for all additional funding for the completion of the project. We ask for your approval of item 2212-96.
May I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Gordon.
May I have a second?
Second, Adams.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Megan?
Roll call vote. Board Member Adams?
Yes.
Board Member Doshi? Yes. Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Morocco?
Yes.
Board Member Keenan?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Gichetti?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. And ask Mike to carry on and present the next item, Board Item 2212-97.
Thank you. We are presenting for approval item 2212-97, contracting out Warren minibus service. Authorization is requested to enter into a contract with Delaware River Coach Lines, Incorporated, of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, to operate the Warren minibus service for a 36-month base contract period from January 14, 2023 through January 16, 2026, at a cost not to exceed $1,833,445, plus 5% for contingencies, for a total contract authorization of $1,925,117, subject to the availability of funds and board approval of New Jersey Transit's operating budget. We ask for your approval of item 2212-97.
May I have a motion to approve?
Motion, Fulton. Second, Gordon.
Is there any discussion on this motion? Mike, I'd just like to, again, really praise you and your team. I think this is the kind of direction we need to go in as a transit agency, providing these kinds of services. They certainly complement what we do with our larger fixed route bus routes, and I'm really pleased and look forward to seeing more of this. And it's hopefully certainly being able to use some of our federal funds that the FHWA provided this year that really go to carbon reduction strategies and protect in terms of environmental protection strategies. So look forward to working with you and your team.
Thank you.
There's no other discussion. Motion to, Megan, please take roll.
Roll call vote. Board Member Adams?
Yes.
Board Member Doshi? Yes. Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Morocco?
Yes.
Board Member Keenan?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Gichetti?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Now, Mike present his last item for today, 2212-98. Mike?
Thank you. We are presenting for approval item 2212-98, approval of New Jersey Transit's Public Transportation Agency safety plans. Authorization is requested to take all actions necessary for approval of New Jersey Transit's Public Transportation Agency safety plans detailed in the corresponding exhibits with this board item. We ask for your approval of item 2212-98.
May I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Giblin.
May I have a second?
Second, Borden.
Is there any discussion on this motion?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
thank you. I'm in full agreement with this item, and I intend to vote yes. But Kevin, I would just like in the future when items like this come up, and it was an enormous safety plan, hundreds and hundreds of pages, if it could have been presented or at least discussed earlier on with the board, maybe a couple of months in advance, and also maybe presented to the safety committee so we would have had time to digest it, to look at it and to understand the importance of it. Like I said, I'm in fully support of this safety plan, and I'm fully in support of the safety initiatives that New Jersey Transit does each and every day to keep our passengers, our employees, and everybody safe. But just more of an advance notice would have been appreciated. Thank you.
Vice Chair.
Thank you, James. I guess the corollary I would add to that is that it is a well put together document. And it was good to see all the information in one place. It was a lot, and more time would certainly have been appreciated. But it's helpful, it's educational, and the more time I spent on this point, I think my colleagues agree. Having documents like that educate us, and I think it puts us in a better position to serve as board members. So thank you, guys. Thank everybody who contributed to it.
Are there any other comments from board members? Hearing none?
Roll call vote. Board Member Adams?
Yes.
Board Member Doshi? Yes. Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Morocco?
Yes.
Board Member Keenan?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Scacchetti?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Great, thank you. I'd now like to introduce John O'Hearn, our Auditor General, to present board item 2212-99. John.
Good afternoon, Chair, board members. We are presenting for approval item 2212-99, third-party internal auditing services contract. Authorization is requested to enter into a contract with Experis US, doing business as Jefferson Wells, Inc., of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, to provide third-party internal auditing services in an amount not to exceed $1,500,000 plus 5% contingency subject to the availability of funds. The contract shall have a base term of 3 years, with New Jersey Transit retaining the sole discretion to extend the term of contract with 2 one-year option periods. The fiscal year amount of the contract will not exceed $300,000 per fiscal year, plus 5% contingency subject to the availability of funds. We respectfully ask for your approval of item 2219-99.
Thank you, John. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Adams.
So moved. Second, Keenan.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
If I may, Chair?
Yes, you may.
John, could you just share with us the benefit that you derive from having a third-party auditing service?
Yes, sir. Primarily, it is because we do not have in-house technical services, primarily related to the IT audits that we conduct. And by IT audits, it is we have a vast portfolio of IT systems, software and hardware systems. We do not have the in-house expertise to execute all of the audits we would like to. There are significant risks in our IT portfolio, and we think it's most prudent to have a third party support us with those audits. You should know we have 2 auditors in-house who have CISAs, so they're certified information security experts. But again, they can't perform all of the risks audits that we need. And again, we probably couldn't execute our annual audit plan without the assistance of a third party.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other board comments? Hearing none. Megan?
Roll call vote. Board Member Adams?
Yes.
Board Member Doshi? Yes. Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Morocco?
Yes.
Board Member Keenan?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Scacchetti?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce Justin Davis, Senior Vice President, Regulatory and Government Affairs, and Chief of Staff, to present Board Item 2212-100. Justin.
Thank you, President Corbett. We're presenting for approval item number 2212-100, regulations, proposed adoption of NJAC 16:78, senior citizen and disabled resident transportation assistance program. Authorization is requested to take all actions necessary to initiate the rulemaking process for the adoption of regulations NJAC 16:78, senior citizen and disabled resident transportation assistance program, consistent with the board item and corresponding Exhibit A. We ask for your approval of item number 2212-100.
May I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Adams.
May I have a second?
Second, Giblin.
Thank you. We are going to have discussion on this motion. If I can ask the board to defer to the chair. Justin, in the case of this particular item, we've heard a lot of discussion today. Is there a time sensitivity or an immediate nature where this has to move today?
Not on a time sensitivity. However, the regulations have been expired since 2005.
Thank you. And so what I would ask is, can we table this until February so that you have the opportunity to meet one more time? I understand there was one meeting, that you could meet again just one more time with the committee to try to iron out your differences?
We're happy to listen to them and have that meeting prior to going back to the board.
Okay. Do any other board members have any other comments? Board Member Gordon?
Yeah, I just would like to support your effort here. I think it'd be useful for the board to learn more about what the issues are, and given the fact that there isn't the time sensitivity, I think that would be a useful process.
Anyone else wish to comment?
Chair, I fully agree. I think we need a little bit more time, and since there isn't a time sensitive, I fully agree with that.
Thank you, Board Member Adams. I want to make one thing clear, though, to both sides. The action of the board to table this item this month to move in February, which is when we have our next meeting, is not an indication that we favor one side or the other. We don't know. And so best if you work out your differences amongst and between, because that's who you have to work with every day. And we always hear a fair share of criticism of this board, but all the members of this board actually have day jobs. Noreen and I, our day job is being on this board, but for everyone else, this board does work very hard. And I think, again, that was reflective in many of the comments that were made today. And I think this act is also reflective of the fact that we want to make sure that we do the right thing. But I want to be very clear, this board does not take a position one way or another on what is the right thing to do. You may come back in here in February and be very happy, maybe a little less unhappy. I can't predict, but I want to give you the opportunity to meet with staff one more time and try to iron out these differences and have an amicable result for a regulation that falls within the statutory requirements and limitations of the committee, but also serves the committee's needs for the constituency it represents. So with that, I would like to amend the motion to table this item until the February board meeting, at which time the intention will be to move it one way or the other. Do I have a motion on the amendment?
Motion, Fulton.
I have a second. So I have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, Megan, please take roll call vote.
Roll call vote on the amended motion to table this item until February. Board Member Adams?
Yes.
Board Member Doshi?
Yes.
Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Morocco?
Yes.
Board Member Keenan?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Scacchetti?
Yes.
Amended motion is carried.
Thank you. And one more thing, this is not reflective of all of the work that the staff put in. I want that to be very clear. We appreciate the work you did, certainly to take care of what is a very old matter, and that's why, while it's not time constrained, we would like it back in February to have new regulations, a new process for the regulations to be in place, at which time the committee can also then participate in the formal process for providing comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Mr. Adams, Mr. Gordon.
here for your disposal.
Thank you. Moving on. Kevin?
Yep.
Thank you. I'd now like to introduce Chief Chris Trusillo, Senior Vice President, Chief of Police, and Office of Emergency Management, to present Board Item 2212-101. Chief?
Thank you, Mr. President. We are presenting for approval item number 2212-101. Regulations proposed amendments of NJAC 16:83. Conduct and safety of the public in the use of New Jersey transit equipment and facilities. Authorization is requested to take all actions necessary to initiate the rulemaking process for the adoption of the regulations. NJAC 16:83, conduct and safety of the public in the use of New Jersey transit equipment and facilities, consistent with the board item and corresponding Exhibit A. We ask for your approval of item number 2212-101.
May I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Gordon.
May I have a second?
Second, Adams.
Is there any discussion on the motion?
Madam Chair, I'd just like to say just a little bit about this item. I think this, if I remember correctly, 2 years ago, we started discussing this based on some of the incidents that were happening on our trains and buses. And I am just so happy and overjoyed that we're moving this forward, because our operators of both train, bus, and light rail are the cornerstone of New Jersey Transit. They are one of the most important employees that we have. During the pandemic, when I was sitting at home in front of my computer, warm and safe, they were out there each and every day moving people from A to B. And to me, it's inexcusable for them to be spit on, hit, screamed at, or whatever the case may be. So I am so happy to see this in place. And I know this is only the first step, Chief, but it's a monumental step. And Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, we're one of the first agencies to put something like this in place. I don't know if you want to just comment on it. I believe one of the first.
I believe we may be the first. Some others are also looking at doing similar, but Brian may be able to give the jurisprudence update. But as far as I think we are the first to do that, and I fully concur with your sentiment about that.
Yeah, and thank you for the team to being diligent for this and looking out for our New Jersey Transit family. Those are my only comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Adams. Anyone else?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm also overjoyed that this has come. Being a union worker, my brothers and sisters out there on the line, they do take a lot, and it is good to see that their lives are being taken into consideration, put out. I'm just overjoyed in, just going forward. Once it gets out that consideration was taken, and I'm sure, hopefully they'll be happy. I'm sure they will. But I'm just happy that we did get to this point, and our brothers and sisters out there can be well protected, because they do take a lot out there. I mean, the stories are horrific, and it saddens my heart. They're on the front line, and all they endure. So I'm just elated that this is really, really, out here, and we're moving forward, to protect their lives. Thank you.
Thank you, and please thank your colleagues for all that they do. Hearing no other discussion, Megan?
Roll call vote. Board Member Adams?
Yes.
Board Member Doshi? Yes. Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Morocco?
Yes.
Board Member Keenan?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Scacchetti?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. I'd now ask the Chief to continue with Board Item 2212-102. Chief.
Thank you. We are presenting for approval item number 2212-102, proposed labor agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge number 37. Authorization is requested to enter into contract with the Fraternal Order of Police, FOP, Lodge number 37, for the term of July 1st, 2022 until June 30th, 2027, subject to the availability of funds, approve the economic terms and other proposed conditions contained in the collective bargaining agreement, and take all necessary steps to finalize and implement same. We ask for your approval of item number 2212-102.
May I have a motion to approve?
Gordon, so moved.
May I have a second?
Second, Adams.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Megan?
Roll call vote. Board Member Adams?
Yes.
Board Member Doshi?
Yes.
Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Morocco?
Yes.
Board Member Koenig?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Scacchetti?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you,
Great.
Chief.
Thank you all. Now I'd like to introduce Bill Vaquera, Senior Vice President, Chief Financial Officer, and Treasurer, to present Board Item 2212-103. Bill.
Thank you, President Corbett. We are presenting for approval item 2212-103, Information Technology Amendment to Contract and Integration Partners for Network Resiliency. Authorization is requested to amend New Jersey Transit's contract with Integration Partners of Lexington, Massachusetts under New Jersey State Contract M7000 for data communications for network architecture, design, installation, and testing services of $668,988.18, plus 5% for contingencies, subject to the availability of funds. We ask for approval of item 2212-103.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve?
Motion Fulton.
May I have a second?
Second, Gordon.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Megan?
Roll call vote. Board Member Adams?
Yes.
Board Member Doshi?
Yes.
Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Morocco?
Yes.
Board Member Koenig?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Scacchetti?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Great. Thanks. Now I'd like Bill to continue with 2212-104 regarding the Westwood Bus Garage.
Thank you. We're presenting for approval item 2212-104, Property Acquisition of Bus Garage in Westwood, New Jersey. Authorization is requested to execute and deliver any agreement for the purpose of funding the property acquisition costs, acquire the property for an amount not to exceed the amount which was discussed in executive session, subject to availability of funds, and negotiate and enter into or execute all documents, instruments, and papers, and to perform any and all acts or things, including by assignment of and hiring of staff and resources to proceed with the property acquisition, exercise the power of eminent domain in accordance with the Eminent Domain Act, and file complaints and condemnation, file and record declarations of taking, and execute deeds in lieu of condemnation, and lastly, carry out the relocation of affected property, if any, in accordance with the Federal Uniform Relocation Assistance and Real Property Acquisition Policies Act. We ask for approval of item 2212-104.
May I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Giblin.
May I have a second?
Second, Adams.
Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing none. Megan?
Roll call vote. Board Member Adams?
Yes.
Board Member Doshi?
Yes.
Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Morocco?
Yes.
Board Member Koenig?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Scacchetti?
Yes.
Motion carried. We have a recusal on the next three items. Board Member Thomas and Brown are recused and will leave the meetings.
Great. Thank you. I'd like Bill to carry on with item 2212-105, first of three personal injury claims. Bill.
Thank you. We're presenting for approval item 2212-105, personal injury claim of Jose Guerrero. Authorization is requested to settle the claim of Jose Guerrero through his attorney at an amount discussed in executive session. The Attorney General has approved the proposed settlement, subject to the availability of funds. We ask for approval of item 2212-105.
May I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Adams.
May I have a second?
Second, Gordon.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Megan?
Roll call vote. Board Member Adams?
Yes.
Board Member Doshi?
Yes.
Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Morocco?
Yes.
Board Member Kaniff?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Scacchetti?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. That's Bill. Now to carry on with Board Item 2212-106.
Thank you. We're presenting for approval item 2212-106, personal injury claim of Alina Jadaszewski. Authorization is requested to settle the claim of Alina Jadaszewski through her attorney at an amount discussed in executive session. The Attorney General has approved the proposed settlement subject to availability of funds. We ask for approval of item 2212-106.
May I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Gordon.
May I have a second?
Second, Fulton.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Megan?
Roll call vote. Board Member Adams?
Yes.
Board Member Doshi?
Yes.
Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Morocco?
Yes.
Board Member Kaniff?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Scacchetti?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Great, thank you. And now the last action item for today is the last personal injury claim, 2212-107. Bill?
Thank you. We're presenting for approval item 2212-107, personal injury claim of the estate of Frederick Malchow. Authorization is requested to settle the claim of the estate of Frederick Malchow through his attorney at an amount discussed in executive session. The Attorney General has approved the proposed settlement subject to the availability of funds. We ask for approval of item 2212-107.
May I have a motion to approve?
So move Giblin.
May I have a second?
Second, Gordon.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Megan?
Roll call vote. Board Member Adams?
Yes.
Board Member Doshi?
Yes.
Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Morocco?
Yes.
Board Member Kaniff?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Scacchetti?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you, Megan. Before we adjourn to executive session, I want to let the public know we will return to adjourn the meeting only, but no further business will be conducted. I also want to advise you that we are in for some bad weather. So my phone is going off up here like crazy as I go on a weather call in about 25 minutes and then again tonight. So if you are out and about doing any kind of shopping or whatever, please be careful. Please check your weather forecasts. It is an awfully strong storm. If you watch the Weather Channel like I do come November, it is coming across the country in rip-roaring fashion. This morning on the way up, we were listening, and there were tornadoes coming across the Midwest, and we're in for heavy winds and lots of rain and snow. So please, please be very careful however you choose to travel, number one. And number two, because most of you will have left by the time we come back, that's why wait around for us. The whole point was you didn't have to wait, and executive session was at the end. We want to wish you all very, very happy holidays. However you choose to celebrate, we wish you peace and joy and contentment over the holiday season and a very healthy and happy 2023. And with that, I will ask for a motion to enter into executive session to discuss personnel matters, contract negotiations, the status of pending and anticipated litigation, and matters falling within the attorney-client privilege, including but not limited to the property acquisition of 82 Circle Avenue in Clifton, New Jersey for the relocation of the maintenance of way facility and the grade crossing license agreement, Standard Street Alpha Property LLC. May I have a motion?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing none.
Roll call vote. Board Member Adams?
Yes.
Board Member Doshi?
Yes.
Board Member Gordon?
Yes.
Board Member Morocco?
Yes.
Board Member Kaniff?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez-Scacchetti?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. And happy holidays, everyone.
I hereby reconvene the open session board meeting. Board Secretary, please take roll call.
Roll call. Board Member Adams?
Here.
Board Member Doshi?
Here.
Board Member Gordon?
Here.
Board Member Morocco?
Yes.
Board Member Kaniff?
Yes.
Board Member Giblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Fulton?
Here.
For the record, Board Member Brown, Thomas, Nara, and Chair Gutierrez-Scacchetti are not present.
Since there is no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.